Oh no, you're hulked out. Your Hulk's gone.
Oh, no. It's the Black Hulk. Where is it? There he is. Damn right.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be honest with you, and you're gonna love this. It's like a black dude walking at night and he smiles at you. You're like, there's a guy there. What the hell? I didn't think about that.
I gotta figure out a way to work it because we're recording right now. I gotta figure out a way to work that in. So that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
It's true though, and I'm like, I'm driving down the road and there's a black dude wearing black, and I'm like, what? Oh, there's a guy there, and he turns and he faces you, eyes and teeth.
Eyes and teeth.
And you're like, what? I mean, come on, everybody. He's experienced that. Yeah, everybody has.
Exactly.
And I'm like, why are these guys not wearing something you can see? It's like, I don't know. I was like, why aren't they wearing the long white t-shirts like they do every other time? So I guess at night, I guess it's different. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, you ready? Let's go ahead and get this
right on.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Can you go back in and give them green or no? No, you can't. You can't. No.
It would be kind of tough too.
Oh, okay. Sorry, y'all. I thought it'd be cool to wear the Marvel thing.
Maybe. It depends on how much you move around. I might be able to get it back in there, but we'll see.
Nah, that's fine. So. It's cooler this way.
Black Hulk.
It's Inviso Hulk. Don't smile, Hulk. Don't smile. Shave your head. Wear green pants.
All right. Okay. And 3, 2, 1. What is going on, everyone? How you doing out there? Welcome to Movie Monday. We got right here, I'm your host, Mikey. We got William and Black Hulk on his
Word. Right on.
Yeah, I didn't think about it when I was doing when I got rid of the green screen that his Hulk was going to disappear, and I didn't even think about it until just before we started. I'm just like,
and we're like, what?
Oh, your Hulk's gone.
It's like a black dude walking at you at night when the lights hit him. He smiles. Now you guys know that ain't racist. Yeah. He's laughing because he died, and I said it before we started rolling. He just stopped laughing is what happened, and he's like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Oh my god, I gotta keep." He's like, "Gotta work that in somehow." And again, I'm nothing about that. It's just like everyone I think has experienced that. You're driving down the road, and you see a black dude wearing all black, and all of a sudden he turns and faces you, and you see eyes and teeth.
Exactly, exactly.
And I'm like, when I'm like, I'm glad because I don't want to run the guy over. But for crying out loud, why are you wearing black? You're a ninja? I don't know. Hi.
Oh boy,
we're really progressive and modern.
Yeah,
and we really love all people, and we really do. It's just one of those weird things.
We just may not love all the movies we're going to talk about today.
Well, it's one of those things you go back later on and you start giggling about because you're like, oh wow, I've experienced that. Like I was talking to you about the Off the Wall song, and Thriller. I'm like, it's the same song.
Yeah, it's
the same song again.
And like I said, there's a few of Michael Jackson's hit songs that you can play. Are just like that matches up a little too well,
almost perfectly. Yeah, because I was listening to. I think I was actually listening to one of the satellite radio in the 80s and 70s or whatever. And then I think on one of the rewinds or something, they were playing Off the Wall. And I listened to that and I just happened to flip it and I think Thriller was playing at the time. And I went, that's the same song. And my mind was just blown away. I was just blown. I was like, how did I never notice that before? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's not the only one. It's just there's just... I think it's more obvious today, especially with a lot of bands and stuff like that.
We're the same height now.
Oh yeah. But it's more obvious today with a lot of songs. It's like, okay, this is all the same beat because they're using the same producers a lot of the time. So it's like they use the same. They can only come up with so much so fast. So it's not like back in the day when it's like, all right, well, this person recorded this with this producer, and then this producer went off and did something else like a couple of years later or something like that. But nowadays it's like, oh, it's all Timbaland, or it's all this person, or it's all this person. It's like he can only do so much. So it's kind of funny when you think back on the older songs and you realize because Michael Jackson put out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So you come back and like, wow, it does go together really well. So yeah, primping real quick.
It looks like I'm taking off. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the green screen behind us or something.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm developing wings and flying away. I don't know. Yeah, but some of the things you think about, it's like, how did I not notice that? And you're like, that's weird. I don't know. We all have those epiphany moments, don't we?
Oh yeah. Oh,
and,
yeah,
and about anything, about everything.
Definitely.
You're like, oh, that's kind of strange. I noticed that before. I don't know.
Yeah, music, movies, like just life in general. You're just like,
Right.
whoa.
Yeah.
It's just like my life is my life is just changed now. Nothing is what it used to be anymore.
Nope.
So,
Nope. And speaking of movies, that's where we're here.
yes.
I think we forgot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, we always get back on track. We always
do.
get back on track.
We
So
do.
yeah, welcome to Movie Monday. We're going to talk about 3 particular topics today. We're going to get into our most disliked Marvel movies, this excluding the MCU. We're gonna do that for a future episode, possibly or whatever. Talk about our most disliked Marvel movies. We are coming off of March Marvel Madness, as you will see this video.
Yep.
Anyway, coming off of that, so you got all those Marvel stuff coming out, and I did put a poll. Not put a poll, but I put a post out on Facebook. Just getting everyone's general feel like, well, what's your most disliked Marvel film that's not in the MCU? And a lot of people said the new Fantastic Four movie, that one that came out in 2015.
The Silver Surfer one?
No, the one after that.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
A lot of people said that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah. So
Well, it's funny because the Screen Rant guy, Ryan,
Yeah.
does the pitch meetings. If y'all ever seen those, are great. We're huge fans. Yeah. Yeah, he was talking about how, like, Michael B. Jordan's character, he goes, well, why is he in there? Just because we want him. It's like,
Yeah.
doesn't he have any special scientific, Nope. He's just a mechanic. Well, couldn't anybody just do that?
Yeah.
I guess so, but let's not think too hard about it. It's like,
same thing with
okay.
Ben Grimm. It was just like, well, why is he here?
Yeah.
Because, well, Miles called him. I'm like,
Well, and like you said in your review of the Silver Surfer one, they completely forgot about Sue Storm was a scientist, and I'm like,
pissed me off so
yeah,
bad.
I'm like, what? So let's just talk about the wedding. Which
Yeah.
again, well, weddings. A lot of women say, oh, a wedding is a big, huge thing, and I get that, and especially since in the storyline she's been they've been trying to get married, and so I
Right.
can see her kind of like, okay, this is finally going to happen. So I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
And-
to not like at all focus on her being an intelligent person.
Yes, and they made her so shallow, and that
Yeah.
just pissed me
Yeah.
off so bad, man. But
I can
yeah.
imagine Jessica didn't like that much because
No.
in the first movie, she was a scientist
Yes.
and actually was helping. Now she's kind of like the girl in the background. I'm like,
Yes, she was not.
She was an invisible girl on screen, is what she was
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
and
metaphorical at the same time.
they and I read this a while back, but she almost quit acting altogether after that movie.
I could see that. I
Yeah,
could
she
see
was
that.
really upset with like the script and
Right.
how like they were making her suppress her dial it back. She dialed it back so much that it was just like she was kind of lifeless in a lot of scenes.
Right.
And you see that on screen, and I'm just like, yeah. I'm actually surprised she went and did Sin City, because like that's a comic book movie. So I'm like,
Completely different.
yeah, completely different.
Which is
but
good
I'm
because
just like,
I think it kind of like helped her shed the skin of, that other thing,
Yeah.
of the other bad one.
the other comic movie. But yeah, excuse me. A lot of people said Fantastic Four was like the Fant Four stick, as everyone calls it.
Right.
A lot of people said that.
Well, one of mine is a Fantastic Four, but it's not that one.
Yeah, not that one.
It's not that one. That's, in my opinion, that's not the worst Fantastic Four. Yikes. It's just saying
And-
something. Wow.
And then we're going to keep the Marvel trend with our next topic. We're going to get into some Captain Marvel.
Yes.
And then we're going to talk about since keeping on a similar trend with strong female characters.
Girl power.
Girl power. We got some Alita Battle Angel. We're going to close it out with that.
Yes.
We're going to try to be as thorough as we can,
Yep.
but we're going to be pretty quick about it because William's got some adulting stuff he's got to take care of. So
It's all good, man. It's all
Yeah.
good.
So he can't hang out with the young kids all the time, even though
No. That's why I got those gray hair.
I'm getting it too, man. It's happening.
Well, I'll be honest. My brother has got blonde hair. It's really hard to see on him. My hair is kind of light brown, but you can definitely see it's gray. On you, it's going to be like bam.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
So-
you got a little bit of Mr. Fantastic going on.
I
It's
do.
getting
I do.
close, getting
Yeah.
close,
Yeah,
but
I do. See
not-
this things a little bit. And on the top, you can kind of see there's a mixture. It's really weird because it's kind of like patches.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it looks good. I'm just saying.
I gotta do the messed up spiky hair so I can look young and cool. Hey, I got a young wife. That's all I gotta say.
But yeah, and before we get into that, we're going to take care of some housekeeping real quick. You can always follow us on the social media. You can give us a whoops if I click on the right thing here. Give us
marvel at our social media.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram at McBlam Entertainment. You can follow us, me personally, on Twitter at Mr. McBlam, on Instagram at Mikey McBlam. Where can they go if they want to see something funny?
Look in the mirror.
Yeah, but we want to kill. We want to keep our fans, man.
Keep the listeners.
Keep our fans.
Well, but I didn't mention that. Behind them in the mirror was there. So I mean, come on. But no, check us out on. Now you actually do the Twitter for us. I don't know how much you tweet. You tweet
whatever
for IC Improv Comedy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We are not Iowa City, obviously, but we are intellectually challenged. So we can't think for ourselves. We can't speak for ourselves, as you can plainly see. So we just are funny that way. On Instagram, Facebook, we are at I.C.improv. You can check us out there. And wow, we had a huge turnout for our March Comedy Fest. It was amazing.
Awesome,
it was a packed room. It was crazy. We had in the gallery at the Turnish Theater, it holds about 106, and we had 106.
Yeah.
And I got to say, big shout out. I don't know if anybody from the Unintentionals out of Raleigh, great improv group. I had raves and raves from parents, kids loved it. They were like, hey, those guys were great. And I'm like, and I guess we sucked because you didn't say anything about us, but okay. It's like, but we're the hometown group, so they see us whenever.
Yeah.
But March. It was March 9th. It was a Washington Comedy Fest, the second annual. This one was way better than last year. Now it was only one day, but oh wow, we had sold out the adult. I mean, it was so hot in that room, and it was so packed. Yeah, it was so packed in that room. We had great stand-up people. Jake Weddle did a great job with all the stand-up people. They were just from all over North Carolina, and we had Sherry Diaz coming in from New York as our headliner. She is so funny. But it was funny. He was telling me that some of the stand-up comedians weren't really ready for young kids to be in the audience. The improv was easy because they get the Unintentionals. Bert and them included as many kids as they could, and the kids had a great time. Hearing stand-up jokes, kids were like, "What's going on? Why is that man talking and making funny faces? And what's he saying?" So the parents liked it. The kids were like, "I don't really know." Now, of course, like I said, the adult stuff they did great. So so check us out. IC Improv. That's I.C. Improv. And come to Washington, North Carolina, the original Washington.
There you go.
We were the first one named for George Washington in 1776, believe it or not. So they call us Little Washington, but we are the first. Suck it, DC, suck it. We're the first one, the original. You can't take it from us.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that was actually a lot. Just despite the filming issues at the beginning, but after that, like just seeing everyone. And all the stand-up comedians, they were great. The crowd had a good time.
Right.
They were just soaking up every little bit of it.
Right. So next year we're probably even bigger and better. We're already talking about it. Perfect time of year, March. There wasn't a lot going on because there's kind of nothing. Like Christmas is done, Valentine's is done, spring isn't here yet, summer isn't here yet. So it was perfect, right in the middle.
Yep.
It's like, hey, let's kick spring off with a huge laugh and blow in that comedy and blow out the winter doldrums.
Yes.
And it worked great.
Definitely.
It was great. Yes. Well done, everybody at the Turnage and everybody there.
Blah,
blah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And thanks for you for helping out with all the filming and stuff.
Oh, no problem.
How the edits going? Oh, we'll talk to me. Talk about that. That's business. We'll talk later.
All right. So let's get into some
movies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about movies.
Some stuff that we may not like as much. We're going to talk about some of the not so great Marvel movies that we just don't like. Now, we're kind of leaving out the so bad it's good ones because we still like those because we there's entertainment value for those. But these are movies that we just, man, they missed the mark on them and they are not good. So, William, we're going to start out with your what's going to take up your number 3 spot.
Well, I hate to say this because he's actually he is one of my favorite characters. Now, I never read him because I forget exactly when he came out, but I didn't read him when I was a kid. I read him in the 80s. The Punisher, starring Dolph Lundgren and Lou Gossett Jr. Now, I'm only putting it as the third one only because Lou Gossett was in it, and I really like Lou Gossett Jr. because he's a really great actor, an Oscar-winning actor from Officer and a Gentleman, which is sad he's in this movie. And I even liked him in Iron Eagle, the first one. The other ones, I think he was just getting a paycheck. But the reason why I put this in the third one was, first of all, a big round of applause for them trying to. Now, you go. So you got the clip of that's the knife, and it's got the skull on the knife hilt. That was the only reference they had of the Punisher's kind of skull symbol. And the, wow. From my reckoning because I think it came out in 1989, and I do think it was one of the better versions in terms of the actor, because Dolph Lundgren, I mean, he looks grizzled, and I mean the hair, of course, is the '80s hair, but but he looks. They
made him look popular.
He looks. His look was I mean, and his like the sunken eyes, like I think he pulled it off physically, because he of all the people who've ever played the Punisher so far, he's physically closest to the actual Marvel character, because Frank Castle was like a 6'+ guy. Yeah. Whereas John Bernthal was shorter than me. I think he's like 5'9" or something. Which again, nothing bad against him. I just don't think he really looks the part in that way. I just don't think physically he has it, because if you look at the comics, it always got people more beefy than it is.
Right.
But yeah, this movie was written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten so many times. It was just unreal. And I don't have the actual stuff pulled up. I was kind of trying to see if I could pull it real quick, but either way, they have rewritten it so many times that they actually got rid of almost everything. So basically, instead of it, other than it being called the Punisher and them referring to the Punisher and the skull, it would just be generic, bad vigilante gunman, I think is what we called it, because you wouldn't know. And so unfortunately, it just wasn't treated well. Yeah, gotcha. I mean, it's like a lot of the early Marvel movies. It's like, let's do this, but let's change a lot. Yes. And then we'll call it this, but it's not that.
But it's not.
Like, so why even do that?
Exactly.
I don't know. Just call it Vigilante Gunman. And
exactly.
Then
make up your own property.
Or like, back in the 70s, I think it was like the Executioner guy with the flamethrower or whatever. Just create a different thing and call it that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my third one.
Yeah. I completely understand. Completely understand. Like, I have to go back and rewatch that, actually, because I have to do that tonight. But yeah, I definitely completely understand that.
And like I said, I think they had talked, but I don't recall. I haven't seen it in a while. But there was a part they were supposed to have Frank spray paint the skull with white on the vest, Kevlar vest, flak jacket in the final scene. I think he did that. I don't recall, but I do know that it was this whole thing of, well, you can't have you can't. And this is back in the day. Well, you can't have the Punisher symbol because it's too cartoonish. I'm like. But that's what everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
Why would you not? It's like, why are you not listening to people who go like, but this is what we want to see?
It's all in how you execute it, though. Right. Like, it doesn't have to be a cartoonish thing. It's all in how you execute it. Like, if you showed it and you shot it in such a way that it looks like when you see it, you're like, oh, snap, some stuff's about to go down. Or you could make it cartoonish. It just depends on how you execute it.
Well, but here's the thing. They could have had him like, maybe have the thing kind of like the green screen thing and have it like painted a certain way so that when like a certain light hits it, or like if you go into a club and how everything is white on you really glows, something like that, and then you kind of see it I don't know, in silhouette, or see it kind of like broken between, say, like slats in a fence. You're like, what the heck is that?
Yeah,
that would be kind of cool, because the bad guy is like, something just attacked me and I'm on the ground and I kind of see out of my bleeding eye and I see this glowing thing coming out and I'm like,
that would be really cool.
That would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, because you could really make it, instead of kind of instead of making it kind of the stock image of the clean cut skull, make it kind of runny like some of the more modern ones. Like it's like, I don't know. That's just me though.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely get it. What's going to take up my number 3 spot is actually on both of our lists. I think it's actually, I don't know if it's going to be your which one you're going to be.
Yeah.
Right, taking up my number 3 spot is 1990 Captain America.
Yeah.
This movie, I've already reviewed this movie once, but my main things was like, Captain America's not a hero in this movie at all. And he spends most of the movie running away. He steals cars, and it's silly, it's 90s silly and stuff like that. I get the campy nature that they were trying to go for.
That costume is just the worst.
Yeah, and Lord. It just see if I get I think I got a better picture. Yeah, yeah. That's he looks like he don't want to be. In
I know
that
that's a perfect look. He's like, why am I wearing this thing? I can't breathe. My skin. I'm dying here.
Yeah, and it's just it's everything's rushed in it really quick. It's just like, oh, we got to get from point A to point B and everything, and it doesn't. It's not like they really took time to figure out how they were going to do certain things, and stuff. And the main villain's motivations, Red Skull's motivation. God. All right, so I don't know how much you remember from it. I don't know how much you erased out of your memory from that movie, but it was like, okay, they killed the German army killed his family, kidnapped him, tortured him, turned him into the Red Skull, and he's still loyal to these people.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, Captain America is my enemy. Like, no, shouldn't they be your enemy? They did all the bad things to you. And I'm just like, maybe like there could have been so much done with this that should have been better. But it was just like, all right, yeah, y'all didn't even try. Y'all didn't even care.
And I think didn't we mention this earlier before we started? It was one of the Golden Globus guys was one of the producers, one of the Israeli, I think, because they produced like Cyborg back in the '80s and Invasion USA, kind of those Golden Globus, and what was that other movie with Chuck Norris in it? Kind of, he was rescuing hostages. Anyway, so he was one of the producers. Yeah, I'm the Red Skull. I'm like, wow. It's like Paul Lynn is the Red Skull. Hi, guys. I'm the Red Skull. I'm like, wow. Yeah, this one. That's not... the more I see this, the more I just want to cry because Captain America is my super, super favorite. I think Spider-Man comes in a close second. But dang, wow. Yeah. And here's the thing. I grew up I'm a little older than you. So when I saw like Red Brown playing the Captain America from the late 70s, that was way better than this version. Yeah. And this was in the 80s or 90s. 90s. I'm like, this is like almost 15, almost 20 years later. Like, why isn't it way better? Because the 70s was better because he had the van, he had the motorcycle, he would come shooting out of the back of the van. Yeah. He had the shield. The shield was like a plexiglass clear thing, but that's what they could do back then. And he had like the helmet. I mean, I mean, his costume looked a little better. It looked kind of evil Knievelish in a way, but it looked better in many ways. Oh,
he was at least a hero in that one. Yeah. He was doing stuff. He was saving people. You know, it's just like this. I can't say that about this one, so that's unfortunate.
And I think, but the other thing was they actually, if I remember correctly, they actually did take more from the actual story of Captain America, because I remember there was a storyline where I think Cap was, I don't know if he was separated from the whole Captain America thing or SHIELD or what have you, but he was driving around the country in his van. There was a whole storyline. It kind of took that because if you remember vaguely that, the Red Brown character of Captain America was sort of driving around the Southwest with this thing. And so they kind of borrowed the storyline. So they actually kind of stayed truer than this horrible, awful mess. But I don't know. Yeah, just take it away. I can't. I got to look at it again in a minute, but still.
All right.
Oh, so, Lord.
What's going to take your number 2 spot? Your with more meetings than one there.
Well, 2 times 2 is 4, and there we go. Wow, I love the Jay Underwood, the Johnny Torch on the right. Because both Mr. Fantastic, the character, and Johnny Storm character have the big kind of
the poofy
hair. 80s hair. I mean, the lady has less 80s hair than the 2 guys, if you can believe that.
Surprisingly, yeah.
I know. I'm like, how's that even work? I don't know. So wow. So there's really nothing I can say other than look at the thing, and that's about it. I mean, honestly, I mean, the Silver Surfer one was better than this without a doubt. I mean, it was just like, holy cow. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
and it was direct to video, so it was, even they realized. I think it was like a $10 million budget.
It was really small. I don't remember what it was.
But then it made like $10,000 or some crazy thing or something.
It was like they
hang on, I got it right here. I think.
Roger Corman.
No, actually, they only had $1 million budget.
Okay.
I don't know how much.
Well, I knew their budget was really small.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know how much it made because they don't put numbers that small on here apparently. So
Maybe a few dollars.
Yeah. No, it was the Captain America that had a $10 million budget. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get back. We'll get back to that.
Yeah. All right. So that would be the Roger Corman. If you're listening to the 1980 something.
This one?
Yeah.
No, it came out in the 90s.
90s.
Also.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was released 94. I think.
Okay. Yeah, Roger Corman, Fantastic Four is what we're pulling up here, and.
Yep, 1994 is what I got release date.
Wow.
I know. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the Sam Raimi Spider-Man started coming out not long after that, like
that
in the 99, 98.
No, that was 2002.
Was it really?
Yeah, 2002 was the.
Still, that's not far though.
No, it's not far. But I mean, but think about it. Like we had movies like Jurassic Park out.
Yeah, 1990. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like 1993, and I'm like, we have this movie come out. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So yeah, that's going to take his number 3.
That's my big number 2.
His big number 2. My big number 2 is going to go towards the travesty that was The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
The Rhino. I love the Rhino. Yeah. Wow.
I think it was myself, you, and JJ. Was there anyone else with us?
It might have been. It might. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just 3 of us went to go see this movie, and we were just kind of like, oh, well, we enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was just kind of when I left, I was like, it has a lot of problems, but I'm like, it's fine. And then I watched it again, and I was like, nope, this is pretty bad. And then I watched it again. I'm like, wow, this is a travesty.
It is. And I got to be honest with you, because you're talking about Jessica Alba almost quitting. I'm surprised Paul Giamatti didn't quit acting after this because, yes, he was playing completely against his typecast because I ended up playing in John Adams, I think, on HBO or something. And it actually is a really good series. I like American history anyway. But, I mean, he did really well. In the few movies he did I mean, he's usually a pretty good actor because he's mostly a dramatic actor, but he kind of plays the every man a little bit, but then he kind of throws his own little thing into it where he's kind of downtrodden or whatever. But yeah, he's always interesting, except for in this movie. He was not interesting to watch because I'm like,
well, that and he was only in it for he was in the very beginning and at the very end. Yeah, he wasn't in it for very long.
No.
The one who was actually the most pissed off after this movie, besides most of the fans, was Andrew Garfield. He was actually the most pissed off after this movie because they really didn't know what they were doing. It's like you see some of the deleted scenes, you're just like, where was this even going to go? Yeah. Where were you going with this?
Oh, his dad at the end.
There was one that had his dad in it. There was, I'm just like, where were you going with this?
Wow.
Why? There's just so much. There's so many things going on in this movie, and it hurt me more because I genuinely liked the first movie. It's not great.
It was good for a remake. Yeah, considering how quickly. Because I'll be honest with you,
it's only 5 years after the third Spider-Man.
After the Sam Raimi ones. Again, in my opinion, the first 2 ones are really, really the best in my opinion. Spider-Man. The third one, like you said, is kind of a hot mess, kind of like this one is, because they were trying to do too much. And although I did like the Sandman character,
yes,
and it's funny because I actually liked him more. And felt really bad for him.
I did.
Because of everything. Yeah. I mean, just the way they actually put it together is him, getting, accidentally changed into the Sandman. And with him trying to pick up the locket and everything. I'm like, damn, this is heavy.
Yeah.
But with Peter Parker walking down like, hey. And I'm like, okay, that's really counterbalanced. Yeah. Really not swinging the other way very well.
Yeah. And this movie, unfortunately, there's nothing in here that really makes you laugh, kind of like that. Like with the Spider-Man 3, it's like, okay, you can look at that Peter Parker scene with him walking, especially the one with no music. It's hilarious. But there's nothing in this movie that you can really do that with. I guess you could do it with the Rhino because he's playing so much of a cartoon. But the problem with the film, many problems, but one of the main problems, it's so inconsistent. It's like, oh, it's a dramatic movie in 1 second, and the next second it's a Saturday morning cartoon. It's like you go from 2 ends of the spectrum. You do it so much, and then I think you said it I forget what movie we were watching, and then you said it afterward. He was talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2. He was just like, I don't know where the chemistry went between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone or whatever.
Right.
But it just wasn't there. And I'm like, I agree, it wasn't.
Well, and here's the thing. They were
dating.
They were dating.
Yeah.
So maybe they weren't anymore, or maybe, I don't know, they were kind of in the midst of, I don't know, maybe he was upset, because he was like, this is crap.
Yeah.
And he didn't and then there was a whole issue, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think they both were, and they didn't have any really lines to chew on or anything.
Right.
Everyone was trying to do, I will say this, everyone was trying to do their best with what they were told to do and what they were given, but you could tell like no one was really having fun. And it was like, man, it was really messed up. So yeah, that's my big number 2 right there. So we're gonna backtrack a little bit. We're gonna go to a number 1. I know what your number 1 is, because we just talked about it.
Yes, I mean, again, in terms of my favorite Marvel characters, he is number 1 in terms of my favorite. Just because I was as a kid I would collect bottles and cans to return and get money to buy comic books, and I would always get the Captain America, the thumbs up there, that horrible thing. When I saw it, I was actually excited. I was like, oh, Captain America, cool. And then I saw this and I was like, you're dead to me.
Man.
And this was the one. And this was the one. I was like, Punisher, come back. Because the Punisher at that point, because the Punisher with Dolph Lundgren came out before this, which was way better in terms of the look. And this was just was awful. This was the one that had a $10 million budget that made about $10,000. Back. Which again, I'm surprised it made $10,000. But hey, I rented the video, so I was part of that. So and I don't know. Like I said, then it made me nostalgic for the '70s Reb Brown Captain America, and I mean, it's kind of like going back to the old '70s Spider-Man, the Reb Brown '70s Captain America. Back then we didn't have any real superhero kind of shows. Right. I mean, the Hulk was not quite there. It was right at that time.
But even still,
Wonder Woman was the best one at that time. Then there was a Saturday morning was like Shazam and things like that. They weren't bad, but they just didn't have that cool look about them. So this was just not not a great and honestly, DC actually had better TV shows. Like I said, with Wonder Woman and some of the other, like Shazam, those were better than some of these cheesy Marvel ones. Again, I kind of like I liked the '70s Spider-Man as a kid because there wasn't, we liked Spider-Man. There wasn't a Captain America out. But this is just no. Just take it away.
Take it away.
I can't anymore. I'm gonna.
Well, one thing I will say, like, even though like they did stray a lot from the comic with the Incredible Hulk, the Incredible Hulk '70s show was actually really good.
It was really good. Other than for some reason they had to change his name because Bruce was a gay name. Is kind of what they were saying. I'm like, it's not manly.
They did like double alliteration, so it's too comic booky, and I'm like,
it's a comic book thing. I don't know. I mean, I like the angle of the reporter, but it's funny because definitely it's dated because nowadays with everybody with a smartphone with a camera on it, there'd be so many pictures of the Hulk out there with videos and everything. So I like the fact back then it was the issue. So if you see some of those old shows, it's like,
definitely.
Yeah.
So,
and this is your number 1?
Yes.
Oh, really? This one?
This one.
Really?
Yes. This is my most hated movie.
Is it really? Wow.
Yes, my most hated Marvel movie is not this. This is X-Men 3.
Yeah.
They and I gave this movie a second chance.
Right.
Like I watched this movie the first time in theaters, and I left so angry because I was just like, y'all have ruined the characters. What did you do? I'm just like, we had these we had 3-dimensional characters. I would say that. From the first 2 movies, we had some very 3-dimensional characters. They get rid of that in the third movie. In the third movie, they're very one note. Like they're cardboard cutouts. Right. Is what I would definitely say. They turned Magneto, who was this very layered villain. Oh, now he's this, speech spewing, one-dimensional villain giving, TV announcements and stuff like he's the freaking Joker. And I'm like, why? Why would you do this? And this was at the time, like, this was before I could really say that I was truly separating comic from film. and I knew there's two that they were going with, which was the Cure. The Mutant Cure, which is a comic story that's in X-Men, Astonishing X-Men, written by Joss Whedon, ironically.
Wow.
And then they had the original, like the old Dark Phoenix saga. These are two very important and very emotional stories, and they just squandered them.
Yeah.
Squandered them. And I'm just like, you gave them, like, no one has any really, like, I mean, every movie, despite what you may think, every movie, sequels, whatever, has some form of character development, some form of growth. You don't have that in X3.
Right.
It's gone from X3. I mean, some of the effects, I will admit, they're fine. They're cool. The X-Men actually fighting alongside each other and actually, that was cool because you had that in the first one somewhat. They got their ass kicked a lot.
Yeah, I know. It's like
the second one, everyone was really separated, but that really kind of promoted that tension because they were all separated from each other. The third one, I will admit, that is the one good thing, is like you had all the X-Men fighting together against the Brotherhood. And I was like, okay, that's the one good thing about this film. Other than that, like, it's hard for me to be objective about this because I feel like you were building such a good franchise and building such good characters, and I was so loving it. And then when this movie came out, I'm like, and this is the one movie I will refuse to buy. The one movie, because I collect I have Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I don't like that movie, but I collect them. This is the one movie I refuse to buy. I'm like, nope, I will not do it. I will not do it. A friend, when I was working at the college at Pitt, a friend asked me, and she was like, "Hey, do you have all the X-Men films, right?" And I said, "I have most of them."
All but one.
Yeah, I said, "I have everything but one." I'm like, "You don't have to rent that or something." I'm not getting that movie. But yeah, just how it's funny because a lot of people, they really gave up on the X-Men franchise after the X-Men Origins Wolverine. They were like, no, we're done with this franchise. That was the movie. Right. This was the movie for me. So when X-Men Origins Wolverine came out, I'm like, you can only hurt me once. It was only going to happen one time. I was like, so when I saw this Origins, I was kind of like, yeah, this is bad, but I'm not as mad because I'm like, well, you can't hurt me as bad as this one did. This one really hurt me. So yeah, that's my number one, and I'm going to get this off the screen because let's look at something happy. Look at our goofy faces. That's actually
that's your feel good picture right there. Bring it back to bring you back from the edge. It's like, I can't do this anymore. Oh no, look, we're funny.
But yeah, those are our most disliked Marvel movies, and on a level that's like, it's not so bad, it's good. We don't watch these and laugh.
I mean, at least mine were like way before. Yours are like mostly before, but that one I'm like, wow, that's really surprising. I mean, again, I'm not saying it was great, but I was like, wow, I didn't really. I mean, I feel the heat of hatred emanating off of him, and I'm glad the ceiling fan's on because I'd be like, whoa, dude. So yeah, wow, that's just, I'm really surprised by that.
Yeah, that made me so mad, man. I couldn't. Yeah, it was just one of those like I said, I went in. And I was just so excited. I was so happy that they were making this movie. I was a little bit concerned because Bryan Singer, I know the issues with Bryan Singer now. I didn't know them back then, but Bryan Singer had stepped away, and I was like, oh. But they were still making the movie, and I wasn't just, if I would just paid attention, it's one of those things like, if I look at it now, if this movie would have came out now, it wouldn't have hit me as hard because I would have paid attention to all the hints and stuff. All right, all of this stuff, like, oh, they're filming without a script. And I'm like, okay, but it'll be fine. I see that now and I'm like, yeah, this movie's going to be bad. I'm like, and we got a movie like Solo because of that. It's like, I saw that, I heard all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of knowing what to expect. I didn't expect the best that it was going to be, but I was like, yeah, but I kind of expected it to be kind of a mess. You bring in two way different directors. This is what you're going to get. So.
Well, just briefly on the Solo thing, they didn't, again, we talked about this before, they didn't need to be that movie because there was nothing in the movie that told us anything.
Right. Exactly.
Although it did ask a lot worse questions about other characters, like say Chewbacca, for example.
Exactly.
As he understands common tongue or whatever you want to call it, the English, whatever. And the guy's saying, "Please don't eat me," and he's eating them anyway. So I'm like, is he really a nice Wookiee? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like it does seem to open a big old another can of worms that we didn't need opened, and then it told us nothing, but it gave us more things to think about in a bad way. So I don't know.
Exactly.
They didn't think that one through. I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, I like the fact of, talking about the Mandalorian and, Boba Fett kind of character, because very little, because he was on the screen of the original trilogy maybe 3 minutes maybe.
Right.
And that's
right.
it. And then he gets eaten by a giant, sand monster.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, that would be kind of cool to see, some cool stuff from him, or even IG-88 for that matter. I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. But some of that's handled in the animated.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are we gonna do now? Is that
right.
it?
Yeah, that's all for our our first segment. So we're gonna take a quick 2-minute break, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about some more Marvel, some Captain Marvel. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. We're here to talk about some Captain Marvel. Just came out in theaters like a few weeks ago. It'll be last month as you're watching this, because this will be out April 1st. So
no fooling.
Yeah. We're here to talk about some Captain Marvel. It has been all the talk lately. Although we have Shazam coming out now, the other DC's Captain Marvel.
Right.
So that might be able to kind of calm the masses a little bit. We'll just see how the reception is. So far, I've heard the reception is really good, but we'll see. We still have to go see it for ourselves. So
yes.
That'll be one weekend when we have time at some point. But yeah, we saw this movie a few weeks ago, opening weekend, and I left the theater disappointed. How did you leave the theater? How were you when you left? I wasn't disappointed by the theater experience now.
No.
That was good.
Yeah.
The movie itself, I left. I was like, meh.
Yeah, we were in the Alamo Draft House in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Great, nice, comfy seats, lots of spreading around room. They brought us delicious food and drinks. Yeah, that made me happy. Yeah. But, that's guys.
You made a gesture. What was that gesture you just made? No. Look, William. I'm going to have to ask you to calm down a little bit. All right, that's better. All right.
That better?
So, yeah, that's much better. Much better. Right. Yeah. Okay. So, that was William's impersonation of Captain Marvel.
That's Captain Marvel.
Pretty spot on.
I'm like, you're being too emotional. Okay.
Good.
Yeah, I'm like,
we're good.
So what was your question again? I'm sorry, I was lost in Blandville. What was your question again?
What was your how did you feel when you left the theater? Were you kind of like,
I was like,
all right. Yeah. All right. So
I mean, I got listened to a lot of 90s girl music, I guess. The nostalgia part was like,
yeah, that was cool.
Okay. Yeah. But I was like, yeah. I mean, there was some of it like we predicted completely. We knew exactly what was going to happen. We're like, we know exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. Some of it, I had some questions. Like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But we jotted all that down, so we'll get into that. But yeah, I wasn't like, yeah, this is awesome. I was like, I didn't like, it really stunk. We were just kind of like, meh.
Yeah, over time, like I was thinking about it, I'm just like, I don't like this movie, man.
Well,
it took me about a day to really like come to terms with that. I was just kind of like, I left, and I was just kind of like.
Well, I got to say, Brie Larson doesn't care what I have to think. So we'll have to go with all his,
Well,
you don't have the 14-year-old girl, African American girl, take on this. However,
we had the 12-year-old little girl though. She voiced her opinion after the movie was over.
Yeah, what did she say again? She
was like, "Why? This doesn't make sense. How can the cat digest this but not that?"
Yeah, no, she says, "How did the cat throw up the Tesseract, which was smaller than their boots?" And I'm like, this kid is a genius. She's gonna be the next Madame Curie, because she's like, there's no way that could work. I'm like, that's a good point.
No, good points or whatever. It's like she was legitimately confused about that, and I was like, oh, there's what you're talking about.
The Flurkin did like suck in like 3 or 4 of the scrolls, and ate them like in one bite, and then didn't barf up any of their bits and pieces. I'm assuming the litter box thing is a different story altogether. If you ever had a cat, you know what I'm talking about. Whole bag of things there. You cat owners understand. I don't go into that, but yeah, then that whole issue of like, why didn't they barf up say the boots? I don't know, but not a Tesseract. I mean, well, Tesseract you can't digest it because I guess it's the Tesseract, right?
I guess so.
Or something.
So,
it's energy or whatever.
You can't digest it because it's in the future movies.
Well, that's another reason. It's sort of like disappeared for a while, but it was actually here, and they could kind of justify it like, well, it was there, but they didn't want to tell anybody it was gone because then it would be a whole thing. I guess. I don't know. That's one of the questions I didn't.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things like, all right, this happened back in the 90s. You've had the Tesseract since the 90s. And you wait until 2000.
Supposedly, they had the Tesseract since probably the 40s or 50s, because when they found it like right after.
That's right, they did
like
find
right
it. That's right. He did say like, he found it at the bottom of the ocean right after.
Right, like
so
right
how
after.
Did they lose it?
I don't know. I mean, they've had it for the past. Well, remember, Shield had to get those kind of power weapons. So from doing that, because that's how that
was in like 2012.
That's what they were doing with the Hydra and stuff, with the weapons and stuff.
Right.
So they were using that to kind of get the futuristic weapons, which
and
like Agent Coulson blasted Loki with, things like that, and the other ones. But
and
so you're like, okay.
And Nick Fury had said, I mean, and this could be, he could be lying, whatever. But Nick Fury told Captain America he found the Tesseract at the bottom of the sea. Because that's where Howard Stark. Howard Stark found it at the bottom of the ocean.
Right. So and that's at the end of the first Avengers, at the very end, I think.
That's at the beginning. The beginning of the first Avengers. End of Captain America.
Oh, yeah. That one.
He says, hey, we found this. Howard Stark found it at the bottom of the ocean or whatever. Yep. And I'm like, okay, he could be lying, but why lie about something like that? And so I'm like, okay, so that means you've had it since the 90s. And you wait until 2012 to actually do something with. You waited 12 years. Well, no, 22 years to do something about it. So
and it's obviously it's been around, and the character of whatever her name is, Annette Bening's character, had it in her possession for an X number of years as they're building this spaceship. Are we getting into the review now? Is that what we're doing? Okay, cool.
Let's go ahead and get into it. So what was good about the movie, William? I think you have more good than I do, or you might have the same amount. We'll
yeah, I mean, okay. Well, okay. There's good, and then there's not bad. I think is how we're gonna look at it.
Okay.
So I do like pros and cons. So that kind of the not bad fits into sort of the goodish pro thing. It looked good.
That's fine.
Special effects are great. The colors and all that, the setup and the shots, they look great.
Costumes were cool.
Costumes great. The sound is great, of course. The action was pretty good. The Stan Lee
cameo
was great, which was interesting because they actually used, because he was very sickly at the time of the filming and he really couldn't quite nail what they were trying to do. So, because if y'all picked up on this on YouTube from Kevin Smith, they actually used some of the takeaway lines that they didn't use in the Mallrats film of having him say, kind of buck up, true believer, or whatever he was saying in the movie. And they just kind of did that. And they kind of, laid that down over the, when he was on the subway, the elevated train, the LA train. So that was kind of cool. The comedy was pretty good, I guess. I mean, it wasn't bad. So it wasn't like, oh, here we go again, it's really bad jokes or whatever. So the comedy was fairly good. I mean, some of it was a little heavy-handed. It was, most of the movie was like so on the nose, it should have just been playing on a giant nose. Like the screen should have been shaped like a giant nose. But it was. I think the probably the best way to say this was I wasn't surprised they did what they did. Nothing really surprised me other than undoing some things they did in the other movies in some ways, which is kind of a con. So we're talking plot positives. So what are your positives?
Because you said comedy. There was one, I don't know if it was a joke but I chuckled to myself when I saw it. There was this sign that said 150 days without a scroll attack. And I was thinking about those 100, 100 some odd days without an accident, without a, on work injury. And I see that so much because I go to like all these different facilities. So seeing that, I kind of chuckled to myself. I'm like, is that a joke? And then, so that, I thought that was fun. Like you said, the costumes. I like the costumes. They were cool.
Yeah.
And
I mean the overall look with the outfits and costumes. Look overall.
The technology back in the 90s. I thought that was some nice head nods. The whole thing where they're sitting there and they're just everyone's sitting around. The guy's like, the one scroll's like, "What are we waiting for?" Nothing. It's loading.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. I was like, well, yeah, that's how it was back in the day. So,
but that's the thing. I don't think that's a good thing because we didn't like it back then. We were like, but it was like, what you had to do. But that's not is that a positive thing? Is that a positive thing?
In the sense that I would say like it's accurate, but it's also funny because it's like, all right,
it's a funny memory of like,
yes,
I
we didn't like it back then, obviously.
Yeah, the dialogue.
Yes, hated that.
We're like, oh yeah, that's kind of funny.
But now you look back at it, it's like, yep.
Considering she's working with like she's taking a Game Boy and hacking into the phone system to call across space.
Right.
And you're like, oh, that's instantly. I can talk to them across space instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then now you're like having the dial up things. It's like, okay, that's funny.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
And there was something else I was going to say. And it was about the non-soundtrack, like 90 soundtrack score. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I always do generally like the way the trumpets and stuff swell and stuff in certain scenes.
But it was good, but they didn't really emphasize that so much because they emphasized the 90s music.
90s, exactly.
And it wasn't because it's like, well, we can't have you forgetting this is a female empowerment movie. So let's say, how can we do that? Hey, let's put most of the film's music kind of be sort of out there playing somewhere, but be 90s girls music. I'm like, well, again, that's kind of on the super on the nose thing again, because I think most of the bands were 90s music. And granted, I got no problem with that, but it's like I had to keep reminding you that was like girl power and stuff. I'm like,
yes.
But again, the music, I liked it. It was good. I listened to it. I still enjoy it. I listen to it today. I'm like, yeah, they're all really good songs and they're all really good bands and groups and stuff, and I enjoy them. But I'm like, did you have to be so heavy-handed about it? I'm like, okay, we understand that okay, because they went over and over about, she was, I don't know, treated in a sexist way, pretty much of all the men she's ever ran across, I guess, or something, because they kept flashing back to all these things, and I'm like, okay, fine,
yeah, and
then so then you have to go, well, her best friend is a girl, okay, fine, who has a daughter, sure, because you can't have a son and be empowering female, I guess. And her mentor was a woman again, which in the comics it was a man, but whatever. Again, they don't. Again, I'm no argument with that. And I like Annette Bening. I think she was underused, but I liked her. And then you had the 90s music for the girl power stuff, and then that's the con. We'll get to that. So again, it wasn't a. It was heavy-handed, I think. If it wasn't as heavy-handed, and I think we talked about this before, is like with the Iron Man music, it, to me at least, now of course the Guardians of the Galaxy use it the most effectively because you were listening to the soundtrack. So it was, to me, it didn't bring you out of the experience because you were like, why is this music just sort of playing? It's not like they're in the bar and then the jukebox plays, or they're in the final battle and someone knocks the jukebox and it starts playing the song, which would have been funnier and better. It's like, oh, there's this music playing in the background that's not really in the movie-ish, but it's in the movie, but not really there.
Right.
It's kind of weird. It's like, because with the soundtrack,
it didn't match most times.
Well, I'm talking about like the instrumental, the actual instrumental soundtracks, the scores. That helps build the scene, and that's okay because it doesn't take you out of it. But then you're like, where's this like modern song coming from? Because to me, it's kind of like with bad CGI. It kind of brings you out of the experience, as opposed to like Jurassic Park. You were saying that it takes you into it. Like, whoa, you're just so cool and taken into it because it's so sparingly used that you don't lose like the reality, you go, wow, this is really cool. Whereas if everything's green screen, you start to see everything, you're like, and your brain starts to kind of like, okay, wait a minute, this looks really wrong. And so you start to come out of kind of the, that's why animation is better sometimes, because you're immersed. Okay, this animation, I know they can do all this. You start throwing in live action, you're like,
and then and it's that, and sometimes it doesn't look as horrifying, like some of these Disney movies coming out.
So that's the thing. It's like, but like I said, the Guardians of the Galaxy used the soundtrack, you know, the not the score, but the soundtrack better because you were listening to the tape. And it's okay if, like, you know, like say Star-Lord, you know, Brain, the guy, the big blue guy, was listening to his music as they were playing the Piano Colada song when he was listening to it, and then as he takes the soundtrack and he's putting it back on in his ears and he's flying to the spaceship, the song keeps playing. See, that makes sense. But in this one, it just, because like I think in Iron Man, if I remember, again, I haven't seen it in a while, but it seemed to me like when they were playing these Iron Man songs, it seemed more realistic in terms of you at a club or you were listening on the radio or something. Now, it could have been broken out of that, but I think since the Guardians used the soundtrack more, it seemed to me kind of like they were trying to copy that in some ways. Just because Iron Man had come out so far back that then now the Guardians are out now, so you kind of changed how the soundtrack was used. Not the scores.
And Iron Man was one of those, like, it used it. It used, like, I guess, popular songs, I guess call them pop songs or whatever. They used that sparingly. Like, you know, you had AC/DC on the soundtrack.
Well, they had the Iron Man songs, so they kind of had that.
They had them on the soundtrack. But they used it sparingly, you know, and it was, like, in certain moments, but the rest of it was just mostly score and stuff. One more thing I wanted to get into, one of the positives, Samuel L. Jackson's de-aging.
That was really, really good.
Really good. I was like, wow. You know who it reminded? He reminded me of when I looked at him. It was two things. Especially, I don't have a good close up of his hair here, but it reminded me of two things. Reminded me of how he looked in Die Hard with a Vengeance, with you know, but he had glasses on there. But also in and I couldn't find a picture earlier, but just Loaded Weapon.
Definitely.
Because he had the same kind of hairstyle in Loaded Weapon or whatever. I was like, okay, that looked really good.
They might have pulled that from there, actually. I mean, maybe. They might have, because that's it. That was him. So you could easy enough to kind of pull that together.
Coulson, on the other hand,
that was not.
The thing is, Coulson doesn't look old to begin with.
No,
like you probably could have done
makeup. You probably could have done makeup. The
hairpiece can kind of come and go, but I'm just like, no, and it's kind of sad because they've done. Oh, there, I got a picture of him right next to.
But you can see right there, and he was kind of balding a little bit right there. Anyway, you can kind of tell. Because I think in Patriot Games he was kind of balding like that too, because that came out around the same time.
And I thought I had a picture of it. I guess I don't have a picture of it, but I was trying to find Chris Evans, Captain Rogers from Civil War, and how they had him when they, or even in Captain America, like if you look at it without the color grading on it to make it look like a 40s film, if you look at it without the color grading on it, it's like, okay, yeah, I can definitely tell, like, all right, that doesn't look very good. But once you put that color grading over it, it was like, that's pretty seamless. You know, him as, you know, little scrawny Steve Rogers, that looks actually really good. It looks better than what they did here. And I'm just like, y'all have done better. And like, y'all could.
Well, and this is, we talked about this before, it's like the Carrie Fisher from Rogue One. It just, it's horrifying. It's horrifying. Now, it might, in some ways, which is funny because you said like the Chris Evans, I mean, he's a white dude. But then with him, with Coulson's character and the Carrie Fisher Princess Leia character, they couldn't quite get it right. And I'm like, I wondered if it was the skin tone and the lighting. Maybe that was it. It might have been that might have been an issue because Samuel Jackson, it was so, I had a hard time even thinking, I had to remind myself I was looking at him as a younger CG age because it looks so good.
It does.
I mean, and they got tight up on his face. And you looked at it, you're like, dang, that's good. You can't hardly ever tell. And that's even better than, say, the Henry Cavill mustache thing. People were like, oh, I see the mustache or something.
When they spent like 16
but Coulson, when they showed it to him, he looked like an alien. I mean, he looked fake. So, I don't know.
And that's why a lot of people were saying, like, is he a Skrull? And I was like, well,
actually.
but yeah, that I would say like definitely good job on de-aging Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
And that's all like I have. That's good about.
Yeah, that's about it.
Unfortunately,
and again, I think it's a matter of saying good, as in like really good, as opposed to what's not bad. And again, those are kind of all my pros of like I said, the last one was the Samuel Jackson's de-aging. Looked great, and he was on the screen a lot, so they really pumped the money in him.
Yes.
And they just kind of did with what's his name, Greg. They just said, oh, let's just throw something up there.
Right.
It's like, we won't see that much. Whatever.
Right.
So yeah, are we gonna get into the cons now? Because I
yeah.
I got more cons than you do, and I had more goods than you do. So, but then again, you said something in the middle of or after the movie. And again, Brie Larson, I am not saying this. I'm a white male that you can't hear me. In this. Don't even listen to what I'm saying. But I turned the mic over to Mike here, and you said something. You said something about happened in the middle of the movie.
I got bored. I just legitimately got bored. I checked out after a while.
And I looked at your eyes were kind of glassed over, and I'm like, huh, okay.
Yeah, I was legitimately like, if I was tired, I would have fell asleep. I would have fallen asleep. Like if I was tired. I mean, I was tired, but I wasn't like that tired.
Well, we were close to the screen. Maybe that's why all the flashing probably kept you awake.
Yeah,
we were sitting right up front.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we were further back, I think he'd been sleeping like the guy in the Battle Angel movie we saw.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That was funny.
Yeah,
too.
That was funny. That's a big rounding endorsement right there.
But one of the biggest pet peeves I have with filmmaking, and it annoys me to no end that people let this slide so much, is I'm like, show don't tell.
Yeah.
Show don't tell.
Yeah.
You're gonna say she's an emotional person. You're gonna talk all this stuff.
Oh, wait. Ha 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 ha.
You're going to like say like she's got so much anger built up into her or whatever, and you're going to say all of these things, and I'm going to pull this up real quick. You're going to say all these things about her, and this is the face she has through most of the movie. I'm sorry, and at the very least, like I said, I don't know what they told her to do. I don't know if she just like she saw the script and was like, this sucks, and I'm just doing whatever, or they were just like you said, like maybe they were just like, dial it back, or tone it down. You're supposed to be like this strong female character, so you need to be stoic all the time and everything.
But see, they need to shut up because they don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, and to chime in here, and now I've done more acting than you.
Yes.
But that's not saying much. And I've taken more acting lessons and stuff than you, which again is not saying much.
Yes.
So now I agree. I know I'm not a great actor. I know. And I've done some pretty good roles, but they're nothing to write home about, and definitely not going to win any awards because she's an award-winning actress. And I told the big ups for that. She did really great in Room. So big ups for her on that. No problem with that whatsoever. But I think in this movie, Room was a very dramatic movie, and I think in this movie, she didn't understand sort of the action female character. I think because I think what she was doing, and again, it's my opinion, it's what I've read from watching. I'm pretty good at reading people for the most part. I mean, that's part of my job too. I kind of have to read people and kind of see where they're coming from. And I'm like, it looks to me like she started having fun with the character, realizing, hey, this is an action movie, I should have fun with it. But then she says, oh wait, but I'm acting, so I have to calm down. And so I think because there were times when she kind of forgot she was acting and just kind of went with, like they say, act, don't think, or think
don't act.
Yeah, act before you think is the thing. Is act before you think. I think she started doing that, but then she dialed it back because there's a couple of moments where she kind of broke of that, and it was like, okay, cool, interesting, and then she went right back to Captain McBland instead of Captain Marvel.
Yes,
and I'm like, wow, because she. And I've seen that in other movies too, where the actor starts to go somewhere like, okay, they're getting interesting, and then they go, boop, back to Blandville.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, okay, so, and then you're just completely out of it. You get bored.
Exactly.
Because there's nothing different or new or interesting. It's like, you're too emotional.
Yes, exactly.
That's basically it.
Exactly. Everyone's telling her that she's
too emotional. Control your emotions.
Control your anger. And now
and then she was she was literally a cardboard cutout of herself for most of it.
Yeah.
And again, I've watched a whole bunch of reviews because I want to be fair and go, well, maybe I'm being too harsh. Like you said, you think about it, whatever. And I've watched a whole bunch of reviews, and most of them were kind of like, it was okay. A lot of them were like, we really didn't need a new character at this particular point because there was really nothing that, kind of like with the Solo, there's nothing really she brought to it. It kind of filled in some stuff, but then it kind of retconned stuff, and it kind of just blew some stuff. And we're like, that's how the eye thing happened? Really? A cat?
Yeah.
Or not a real cat, but...
Well, even still,
but he trusted that cat apparently more than life itself, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then we're watching this. I'm like, I guess we're like, I guess so.
And the thing is, like, I know why it's in the script, because Captain Marvel, the comic version of Captain Marvel, has been known to be very, very hot-headed.
Right.
She has done some things that are extremely questionable.
Right.
There is apparently a second Civil War, because, like, the original Civil War happened, Captain America versus Iron Man type thing. That happened, I think, like 2000s or something like that. But there was a second one that happened. I haven't read it, but I know the basic premise of it, and she was behind a lot of what happened because of her impulsiveness and her hot-headedness and stuff. She's lost a lot of battles because she's impulsive and hot-headed and everything. and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I'm just waiting, like, okay, they're saying this about her. And I'm like, okay. And I wrote the note, made the note, I wrote it down, and I said, okay, are you going to show this, though? Because I was waiting for it to happen. I was like, okay, they're going on this mission. Okay, she's going to do something impulsive or just emotional or whatever, and that's going to get her into trouble. But no, she was following orders. She was doing exactly as she was told to do.
Right.
That's why she crash lands on Earth or whatever, because she was following orders. I'm just like, she doesn't do anything that's outwardly overly emotional. Or
the one
anything.
thing she did that was overly emotional when she was fighting the Skrulls, and they went, she went, ah. That was the only. That was the only non. In my opinion, this was a close second. You can kind of see, but that that was kind of the slow burn. Anger thing. You're like, okay, I want to.
Yeah.
But I
would say that's probably the one thing that I definitely caught, like when she was sparring and like she lit her fist up or whatever.
But honestly, that seemed out of context because it didn't seem like she needed to be that angry at that particular moment. I mean, you're sparring. That's all you're doing.
That's true.
I mean, it's not like because she got more emotional there from a simple. Physical combat thing, which again, if you've done any martial arts and you have, you got to control yourself when you're throwing your fists out because you don't really want to hurt the other person you're training with.
Exactly.
Or the old samurai axiom is like, if your anger flies, hold your sword. If your sword flies, hold your anger kind of thing. And so it's like, because like as a samurai, you kind of devoid yourself of the emotion of, I'm just doing this, the one stroke, one kill thing. And then you don't, that's it, you're done. As opposed to, you let your emotions get the best of you, then bad things happen. So kind of the same ilk here, but she never let her emotions. Now at the end, and I got to say this too, CGI Brie was more emotional than real Brie. Yeah, and I'm like, there was more emoting from a fake Brie, than the real one. So I don't know. I mean,
I'll give you that.
I don't know.
I'll give you that. But that's one of like. It's one of the things that bugs me the most, and I don't understand how people like. I'm assuming I won't say people. I will say I don't understand how some critics will let that slide a lot. I'm like, this is a visual medium, and well, put it this way: I don't know how they let it go on some movies and let it and then hammer it on others. I'm just like, no, it's a consistent thing, and this is one of those main moments. I'm like, look, everyone's saying this, but they're not showing it to you. Right. That's the problem. I'm just like, we don't need everything spelled out. We can have some nice, and we're going to get into this later too, but like we can have some nice moments of just visual storytelling. You don't have to say a damn word. That's how you show it. Don't spell it out. Just show it to us. We got it. We're on board or whatever. Like I said, the one way you really could have fixed that is have her do something emotional that gets her stranded on Earth. Right. Whatever. Have her do something emotional that puts the people on Earth in danger.
Or something emotional that gets her to lose the MacGuffin or the Tesseract or whatever. Right. Or her friend gets captured. Something because she's impulsive. of like not focusing on what to do, and all of a sudden the little girl gets kidnapped or something. That would, and then have her come back from that. It's like, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. That would have been better.
I agree. Now she has a legitimate flaw, and she has to overcome that. In this movie, she doesn't have that.
No. And some people were saying in their reviews that she was a Mary Sue, and I don't think so, because I wouldn't put that. No, I mean it all fit in with her character. And again, we didn't know much. Now I will say, and I agree with some of the reviewers, is like they should have let us not know her backstory before she did. We should have discovered it at the same time she did. That would have made it more interesting.
Very true.
You know, it's like I keep having these flashbacks. It's like, you know, okay. And then maybe it's kind of like the Bourne thing. He doesn't know anything about it. So he discovers it, and we discover it with him. That's cool. Let's do that.
Exactly.
So kind of like the show Don't Tell.
Exactly. Yeah, but because we know about it, it's like you're sitting there waiting for her to figure it out.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, catch up already. We're getting bored here. Exactly. And you did get bored, so there's something to that.
You know?
So what else?
Everyone is so cool about everything.
What do you mean?
Everyone's just so cool about aliens attacking. They're just like, you know, Fury's, he's surprised at first, and then he's like, okay, can I come with you? Can I hang? And then, you know, can I chill a bit? You know, like aliens come in and attack her, you know, her friend, you know, and kidnap the daughter and everything. And I'm just like, she just kind of looks, she's surprised at first.
Yeah, the mom. She's surprised. That's me out there. Oh,
then,
that's good.
Yeah, and then it's like, all right,
that's cool.
That's fine.
Anybody want cookies? I'm gonna bake. You know, it's like, okay.
Like your best friend who's been gone for how many years?
And you thought was dead.
Yeah, comes back and she's
and
like,
now alive.
Got superpowers.
And it's got superpowers.
Like,
like,
neat.
I'm sad for a few minutes, but then I'm cool.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Hey, you got superpowers. That's great.
that I was just like, really? And I'm like, because I think that was the main. It was
between her. But you got to remember the '90s was a very optimistic time, so you got to remember that. It's like everybody was like, "Oh, okay."
But yeah, it was like that was another thing that was bothering me. But because like everyone was so cool about it, I'm like, all right, if y'all don't care, why should I?
Exactly.
You know, so that's part of why like even like some of the action, like I said, some of the action scenes were cool and stuff. I just didn't care, you know.
Right.
And speaking of the action scenes, as we're going into that, the Skrulls are not a threat. Now I'm not gonna spoil a thing about the Skrulls, even though you can kind of figure it out. Especially if you've paid attention to the Marvel movies and watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know what the twist is going to be, or the little reveal.
Right.
But it set up a war between the Skrulls and the
Kree.
The Kree set up this war or whatever, which the Kree aren't blue. That's another retcon they did. But they set up this war, and then they go and they fight the Skrulls. And this is before like the whole separation thing happens, before she's stranded. They take these Skrulls on, kicking their ass.
Yeah.
And then she gets captured, and there's like 17 of them. And she whoops every single one of them.
Right.
And I'm like, why are y'all at war with them? Why are y'all not making them your slaves at this point? Because they're not a threat to you at all.
Well, that kind of foreshadows pretty strongly, but you figure out what's going to happen. It's like, they're not a threat at all. So what's the deal? And you're like, oh, well, there you go.
I was like, they're not a threat. And then there's the one Skrull that gives her problems. The one Skrull that gives her, kicks her butt on the train.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wait a minute.
The one guy by himself.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute. She already beat him before.
Right.
How is he giving her so much trouble now? And I'm like, because you need an action sequence. That's why.
Yeah, but I think you can kind of sort of explain it away as in she doesn't want collateral damage, maybe. You know, I mean, she is kind of free with the blasts from her fists.
Yeah,
but you know, she doesn't shoot the blast inside the train at least.
True.
So you got that. I mean, you know, she's like, hey, if I can knock down if I knock down the overpass, it's not a big deal. But I won't shoot inside the train because I don't. I was like, I can blast the overpass, but whatever.
But that was the thing.
Yeah,
like,
so it's
she
kind
took on like I said, she took on like 17 of these things.
Right.
She took them on in close quarters
with her hands,
and
binding or these big things that she couldn't, so she couldn't blast.
Yeah, with hand-to-hand combat. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, and she beat him before. So I'm like, beat him before. Why is he such a problem now.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, okay, so you got some inconsistency going on there. There was a inconsistency with the comms, like the comms were jammed and then they weren't, and then they were jammed again.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Right.
There was another inconsistency. It was like something happened, like it was like one of the alien planes got shot down or whatever. I was like, wait, really, real bullets work? But then it got shot down, crash landed, but it was okay to fly back.
I know.
I was like,
wait a minute, what? Oh, you mean was it Jan Rogs or something?
Yeah.
Because like he was shot down and he crashed, and they go, oh, let's reprogram and send him back to space.
Yeah,
like, okay.
and
Cool.
it's perfectly fine. The little girl knows how to work alien technology just fine, and I'm like,
because it's powered by imagination. That's why.
Sure.
I'm going to say we already talked about this a little bit, but the dick joke.
Yeah. Why? Don't know.
So basically, like human males and Skrulls have the same sense of humor. They both want to check each other's junk out or something. I don't know. That seemed kind of weird. It's like, okay, so if he's a Skrull, why is he checking out the guy's, Johnson? I don't know what that's about, but that's kind of weird.
It was all in the way it was shot.
Yeah.
Because they looked at each other.
And they knew.
And then they both looked. And I'm just like, well, this one guy's a Skrull, so why would he look?
Why would he even care? I mean, because of the whole thing of him... Because I was like, well, maybe he's reading his mind. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. No. But he doesn't know that because he calls him Nicholas and he tells him no one calls him that. They call him Fury.
Exactly.
So that was something you would think they'd know.
Exactly.
But I guess not.
That's what I'm saying. The one thing if they framed it like they looked at each other and then Samuel looked and then he immediately just kind of like
he was he's doing something.
Oh yeah. You know.
And I will say about the Skrulls again, Coulson.
Mm-hmm.
How in the world? Because you show up the next day after she falls and she breaks into the Radio Shack, gets the Game Boy, and then taps into the phone system, and then then they show up in the parking lot where the mall cop is, and he's like, she's over there, and so she's talking to them as they're coming closer to Earth. Now and again, in terms of the time frame, we don't know how long she was held by the Skrulls,
right?
Because we're like, they need to steal lightspeed technology, but she's already there on Earth after being way far away from in the other side of the galaxy.
Right.
We're assuming that it wasn't that long ago, but although we don't really know a full time frame because they're still looking for her. So it's got to be recent. It's not like we've been searching for you for years.
Yeah.
But we don't know. We know it's not terribly long time, but I'm thinking, okay, so you're looking for light speed to get across the galaxy, but the Skrulls got there pretty fast, I guess. I mean, within a few months or something, which is still really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, considering, for us, it'd take, 100,000 years to get across, to get the Alpha Centauri or something. So anyway, with Coulson, so she's there and talking to Samuel Jackson by the phone booth, and then all of a sudden a Skrull shoots at her.
Yeah.
And they're already there because Jackson's looking and talking, and they're smiling and laughing. And they jump in the car, and they go chase off after her. And all of a sudden, he's a Skrull? How?
Yeah.
There wasn't enough time.
When did the switch happen?
Right.
Exactly.
And then at the same time, it's like, so they're able to determine that these guys are S.H.I.E.L.D. from, I guess, looking them up with tech, I guess, like on the little armbands or something. I don't know, I guess.
Perhaps,
and then finding out who was the leader guy of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then go, well, the head Skrull guy is going to go take him over and bonk him on the head and tie him up and stick him in a closet or something. I guess leave him some, juice boxes. And I'm like, okay, so, but how do you know the guy's even now? Again, it's like, well, the guy conveniently is in town, or maybe there's an East-West Coast or something. I guess I don't know. And so you got that going on, and so but he's able to find him like right away, and then impersonate him right away, much like Coulson.
Right.
But although the Coulson one was super fast, and then like where was the other Coulson? Because he was just standing there.
Exactly, and he was just like, "Oh, I was inside collecting evidence." I'm like, "When?
Yeah.
When did you go
It happened so fast. Now again, unless we missed it because we did get bored, but it's like
this is
that
made it got boring,
I know,
though,
but that made no sense. I was like, that made no sense because that was actually like, okay, interesting, and then shoot, boom. Chase, go, jump in the car, boom, go. And I was like, how's he a Skrull?
Exactly.
I'm like, what?
Exactly.
I don't know. So it made no sense. I don't know. But the other thing I thought was funny that I guess Brie Larson can't run. I don't know. Because you don't notice it as much. Because I thought maybe it's the suit. But like every movie I've seen of Marvel and these guys are running, they're running.
Yeah,
Like if you see
they're
like
booking.
Scarlett Johansson in Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
she's getting attacked. She's full tilt,
Yeah.
booking it. And then Brie Larson is in the underground bunker
Yeah.
place, and she's like, and I'm like, does she not know how to run? I thought it was maybe her suit, because they say it was real tight and everything. And all the guys, all of them were saying it's a super tight suit.
Right.
And I'm like, well, maybe it's the suit, but no, she was in the jeans.
No, she was in her jeans. And
But now
stuff.
here's the thing you asked. She's like, what did she do
Where
with
did
the
she put her
suit?
suit? Yeah.
Because she stole the jacket and the t-shirt and all that, but she certainly wasn't wearing the t-shirt over the suit.
Right.
I mean, did the suit did it compress into her armband? Did it like a poop and boop, and then poop and go poof and it comes on? I don't know. I mean, it's the future, I guess.
Well, I don't know.
And all of a sudden it's like now, because she didn't look like she's wearing a suit underneath the t-shirt, because she was wearing just a t-shirt and you could see her arms,
right?
And then she had the leather jacket on over that, but when she didn't have it, you could see her arms. So I'm like, I don't know, what did she do with it?
Exactly. It was just like, it was funny. I forget what we were. I think it was after Alita that we were talking about it, and then we were talking about like we were talking about her suit, and then I started thinking like you were saying like she either the jeans she was running weird and everything,
funny.
and I started thinking like, where did she put her suit?
Right.
Where did it go?
And maybe people think, well, y'all being nitpicky. And I'm like, well, maybe, but here's the thing. We're analyzing the movie. We're critiquing it. It's not like, we're not like, I think she's a horrible actress because she can't run. Yeah. But I'm just like, if you're being chased and you have to get away because you're trying to keep this thing from happening and have these aliens from her, perspective, taking over, causing a worse war or whatever, you'd think she'd have a little more urgency and, like, let's book it, run. Now, and the other thing I will say that I thought was really, again, the girl power thing, again, I got no problem with girl power. We love, like, I mean, like the Terminator, Linda Hamilton, yes. Rocket, Terminator 2, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Ripley in Aliens movie, we'd have no problem with that, Those are like, for like Ripley and Linda Hamilton's character in the Terminator franchise is kind of the every woman, the everyday person becoming in that extraordinary situation. Like, you're in the future with, say, Ripley, for example, but she knows those aliens are doing. She just was attacked by them.
Right.
And now she's like, well, I got to go save Newt. I don't want to. But then again, I can't have her die like that.
Exactly.
Because, and if you look at from the aliens, if you look at the cutscene, you realize, and this is the bad thing they didn't do, but her daughter died because, remember, she was in cryosleep for like 70 years or something. And so her daughter had passed away because she told her daughter she'd be back for her birthday, and she, didn't make it back and she died. So you can kind of see there's like a connection with that girl, Newt, who was close to her daughter's age when she left. So you kind of see a connection there, which made it more believable. Like, okay, I could see her going in to the alien stronghold to rescue this kid.
Right.
She's pretty much the only one who can.
Exactly. Right.
So,
Yeah. And
I totally bought into all that. And I was like, dang, man, yeah, that's oof.
And the thing is with this movie is like they show these moments, like, they show her always getting up, despite, what men have told her and everything like that. And just like, there's the one drill sergeant, which again, I brought this up earlier. Yeah. It was like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, wait, she's in the military. She would have a female drill instructor, not a male, because they keep them separate, but whatever,
Well, but I know in some of the training they do mix, like for officer training stuff, they do mix some of it. Okay. They don't mix all of it necessarily, but officer training is a little different. Okay. My nephew's actually works with the OCS stuff and training them too. So there's some of that they do. I mean, for some of it, they integrate it because you're going to have to, because they're all training kind of the same same stuff.
Okay, so
but I will say, in terms of one of those sequences, which I just thought was a bit heavy-handed again, when her dad was telling her, you can't do your. I'm like, your dad would say that because he's worried about. I don't think it would have mattered if it was a boy or a girl at that point, because she was kind of young and she's racing around the go-karts and almost got herself killed. Yeah. I could see her dad being upset and angry that she was doing something like that. Not like, oh, you're a girl, you can't do it. Right. But like, I don't want you to get hurt. Yeah. I mean, that to me. Now, I mean, with the other recruits or whoever was yelling at her, it could have been the drill instructor. Yeah. I think it was the other recruits, but I could see the guys going, yeah, you stink, whatever. Yeah. I could see that, but her own dad would probably be saying that just to make sure she doesn't get hurt because he actually cares about her. Not like, well, you can't do it because you're a girl.
Well, even still,
if that were the case, he wouldn't let her get in the go-kart in the first place.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, even still, like just looking at that stuff, even if her like, you know, it's a possibility. Maybe her dad's an ass. I'm like, okay, that even if that's the case, it would have been nice to, you know, go on that empowerment journey with her instead of just showing us those snippets at the end of the movie. It's kind of like, all right, yeah, sure, girl power, fine.
Right.
But I'm like, it would have been nice to kind of go through that journey, go through this journey with her, you know, allow us to see like, yeah, she has this problem with emotion and stuff because people are constantly telling her that she can't do such and such or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then she's trying to overcompensate and stuff like that. And then at the end of the movie, she realized like, you know, none of this matters. I just need to do, you know, what I need to do and everything. Right. I need to do what's right, you know, and everything. And just allow this character to build to this powerful person. That, in my opinion, is a way better role model for little girls than what we got. I'm sorry, but that's just the case. Like that is a much better role model for someone to come to terms with their own, you know. Look, a lot of that stuff, I get it. You know, a lot of that stuff can give you your own demons and stuff like that. Let her overcome that. Because that's something that people have to do. They have to overcome their own demons. All this stuff that happened to you in the past, yes, it sucked. I get it. But that also, you internalize that stuff, and it comes out, you know, later on in life and stuff. It happens all the time. Happens to me, you know. So I'm like, people can relate more to that. But when you pin it at the end of the movie, it's like, well, we didn't know this stuff before, so why? Oh, it's empowering now because... Yeah, I mean, like, I get it, but it would have been so much better to, like, to build the character to that moment, you know, just like, or show us, like I said, again, it's a show don't tell thing, but, I mean, yeah, they showed it, but you didn't experience it. Right. That's the thing, like, allow us to experience these things with her. Right. This could have, like, and that's one of the most disappointing things about this movie to me. It's like, this could have been a great character movie. Great character movie. Had all the potential. But it just seemed like no one cared to really. It was just like, yeah, we'll just do this and this, and we'll get from point A to point B, and it's fine. And well,
it's a filler movie, so it's not. I mean,
see, that's the thing.
They shouldn't have treated it that way, but that's what it is.
Yeah, there is no such thing as a filler movie. This isn't TV, you know? Right? You're not trying to pad out a 13 episode run time or whatever. It's just like, no, you're making a film. You're making a film. So every film you make, you should try your absolute best. So, you know, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't feel like they did. And I know, like, Trey had told me, like, there was some Sundance directors and everything and writers that got behind this movie. And it surprised me because I was kind of like, really? And I was thinking,
I think it was a husband-wife or a brother-sister team, I think.
Something like that. So. And it surprised me. I'm just like, well, y'all should be showing these people how to do it.
Yeah, well, because you for those kind of films, it's all about character development for the most part.
So I was genuinely surprised.
Right. And like I said, I think if her dad was really that much of an ass, he wouldn't have let her ride the go-karts in the first place. And so that's why I think it was a bit heavy-handed. Because I'm like, well, you know.
It is heavy-handed, but it wouldn't have felt like that if we had just kind of matured with her. And you know, that's, like I said, that just goes back to like a lot of lack of character.
Well, maybe if they had done it this way by having to start off with, you know, if she had the flashbacks. Yeah. To start off smaller, it's like, well, honey, you can't ride the go-karts because they're kind of fast and dangerous, and in a not in a negative necessarily way, because again, my opinion was, yeah, the dad reacted in such a bad way, but he just saw his daughter crash a go-kart and could have severely hurt herself. Luckily, she didn't. But you know, we don't know anything about that character. We just saw him for a few seconds. Like, I'm like, that might be how some people would react initially, but then they're like, hug her, go, oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. Yeah. Because that's just the kind of person they are. Not that they're bad. It's just that initial reaction was, oh my God, are you insane? What are you doing? You know, after I told you not to do that. Right. And you realize, you know, I just was worried about it getting hurt. Yeah, was it the proper way to handle it? Probably not.
Right.
But we're all human beings and we're flawed. And then like build up slowly, like with the kids and the softball. Baseball is for boys. You're a girl. You know, kind of build it. Just like and then do the, you know, why don't you quit? You get washed out. You're gonna lay in the dirt. I mean, like, so start off small and build.
Yes.
That way, at the end, when she has to fight Just a Girl, when the Just a Girl song's playing, right? It's like, I'm just a girl. So that way it builds to that natural climax, and then boom, she's able to actually show emotion and break away and, like, you know, become the, you know, energy blasting, flying, blowing up spaceships from. You know, and giant rockets.
Yes, and you don't have to show those clips because when she gets up, you know, you understand.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to all those flashbacks and everything right then because you get it. You saw, you know, it's already been established. You can just show it, and it's like that's an empowering moment right there. Right. And sorry, it just irritates me so.
No, yeah, I get it.
And I'm just like, oh man, why was this not a good movie? And I think it's because I really wanted it to be. I really wanted it to be because, you know, like all the buzz behind it and everything, and how people were lumping this movie before it even came out. They were lumping this movie in with what was going on with Star Wars, and I'm just like,
what do you mean, like the Mary Sue stuff and all?
Yeah, you know, and I'm just like, the movie hasn't come out yet,
right?
And I'm like, two, and I'm like, you know, we've had bad trailers before. You know, we've had subpar trailers before. So I'm like, you can't really. I mean, the Star Wars trailers are great.
Oh yeah, trailers are great. The movies, not so much.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you can like, you know, don't judge so much. And then Brie had to come out and say what she said. And look, I get it. I 100% get what she was trying to go for. She just made that cardinal mistake of lumping two different things into, you know, she made. Because she's going by, she's like, oh, there's a lot of, you know, there's not a lot of diversity in critics and with, you know, amongst critics and stuff like that. I said, okay, yeah, I understand that. I get it. I'm on board with you. And he's like, we need more diversity. We need more women involved. We need more people of color involved. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm along with you. I get you. And she's like, you know, when she makes the comment about like, I don't care what a 40-year-old white person has to say about.
Well, she really doesn't care what I have to say then.
That, you know, I want to know what that means, what that movie means to a teenage black girl or whatever. And I was like, okay, I get what you're trying to say, but you are talking about two very different things.
Right, yeah.
This is a subjective theme. Like, obviously, it's going to resonate more with that person, but you're talking about, with critics, you're talking about film quality.
Right. Critics critiquing as opposed to saying it's great because it was flashy. That's what you're going to get from teenage kids. Oh, it's great because it's flashy and it had girl music and stuff in it.
Well, something.
Okay, great. That's great for them. But in terms of if you break it down, kind of like your guy is like, well, if it has great visuals and a cool score, it's a great movie. The rest of it doesn't matter or whatever he said. Yeah. I'm like, okay, then he doesn't understand any of that at all.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're talking about two very different things there. You lump those together, and I was like, yo, I get what you were trying to do, but maybe have somebody look over what you're going to say first, and they would have caught that and be like, well, no, those are two different things. You might want to talk about that.
But here's the thing. So. But here's the thing. YouTube. There's nobody stopping you from doing YouTube.
No.
There's nothing stopping 14-year-old, teenage, young, any color girls from any country in the world from putting on their own, you know, movie review or whatever you want to call it. They insert their name here, movie thing, and then go over what it is. Now, I would say if they're going to do that, they could do it, you know, two ways. You know, obviously learn about how, you know, the breakdown of, you know, stories and how stories go and see how it works, and then kind of analyze it over the, you know, the acting, the story, the special effects, what have you. Or just say, I liked it because these reasons. And there's nothing wrong with that. That way you see, you can't go, hey, it's great. Roll credits. I mean, you can't really do that. I mean, you can do that.
Yes.
But it's not a really kind of a review then. It's just sort of like a cheerleader thing. It's like, yay, it's a great movie for girls, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, but why? It's like, because people were saying, oh, Rey's a great character. I'm like, because she didn't have to do anything? I don't think that's a good, you know, like Captain Marvel. Well, first of all, you know, like most of the superheroes, she was, it was her superpowers was an accident.
Right.
So like, Peter Parker getting bit by a spider or what have you. So it was an accident. So it's not like, she
didn't
planned
ask for
it. She didn't ask for it,
exactly.
but she,
She trained.
she trained. She did figure out. I mean, because again, she trained even before the powers as a military person. So she has some discipline and
Right.
she understands. And she's like quick reaction time. She can think ahead. She's got the the physics and math skills to kind of the spatial relationships and all like that.
Exactly.
And then she was thrust upon the mantle of power of these things and able to kind of analyze scenes. So again, there's a good bit of character development there. So she's not like I got powers now I'm just great.
Right.
It's still kind of the Spider-Man journey of I'm not sure how these work, but I'm going to figure myself out.
Right.
And in her case, it was I think I had a life before, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I shouldn't. But what happened? And so she was kind of accidentally, which is kind of convenient. Again, kind of the script writing convenience of hey, she fell to Earth and she happened to have exposure on Earth because she came from Earth. Oh, we find out about that because she keeps having these Earth dreams.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, but that's fine, whatever. And so, but she still progresses and goes, okay, I'm learning about myself and I'm getting better
I know.
until I, and then I kind of put it all together and then I break free and become who I truly should be. And that's a great story. And that's basically what you should get.
Right.
And then it doesn't necessarily mean you can't still have complications.
Right.
Of like, well, do I go too far sometimes? Because, great power comes with great responsibility.
Exactly.
If you get kind of cocky and full of yourself, then bad things can happen too.
Right.
Or you just kind of, I don't know, you become kind of the too full of yourself and then, I don't know, stuff like that happens. But anyway, but I was going to ask you something else, but keep going.
No, it was just, like those two different things, those are two different things. I just wish you would have ran that by somebody, or I hope at the least that someone at least sat down with her and was kind of like, all right, I know what you were trying to say, but you might want to think about it, because a 12-year-old, it's not that, a 12-year-old can't understand, film or whatever. It's more so like they're going to look at it in terms of like how it made them feel and themes and stuff, because, they write essays on stuff like this and everything, they explore certain things. So it makes them explore things about themselves and stuff like that.
Sure.
That I completely understand. But when you're talking about critics, now that was literally the last thing you were talking about. I was like, you're talking about critics. Which means, let's be real, you're talking about us.
Yeah, they're not. You're not going to have professional critics who are 14-year-old African American girls. Well, you just don't.
That's the one thing, but you're also talking about film quality.
Right.
It doesn't, themes are nice.
Right.
But we're not necessarily looking at the theme. We're looking at how this movie is executed. Right. How's the script writing? How's the story? How's the acting? How's the visuals? How is it all compiled together? We're looking at all of these elements.
Right.
And, we're judging them based on a particular standard.
But here's the big flaw in her argument though. She's assuming that like someone like me can't take myself out of the equation and evaluate it purely for what it is. It's like I'm going to put my white maleness slant on it or something.
That's why I said
like
you can't.
You're missing the mark.
That's why I say you can't lump those two statements together because that's insulting.
It is. But you just fed into the thing you said you hated. You just said, well, I don't like how this is going, and these other people should have more, or I should listen to them more. I was like, yeah, but you're doing the exact same thing you told us not to do.
Exactly.
You're saying, I'm going to ignore these people for no other reason than they are a certain color and sex that I don't like or whatever. But I'm going to pay attention to those people because they are the same or different or whatever sex or color I like or whatever.
This is what this movie was. This is who this movie was made for. And
right.
I'm like, that's not. Yeah, that's no.
Most of the people going to see these Marvel movies are going to be men.
Yes.
Period. Why? Because most people who buy movie tickets are men. For the most part.
And I can't look. I can't explain it. Like I grew up in a black neighborhood. Two people were into movies as much as I was. That I knew growing up. Eventually, I met more. Eventually, but it was just like growing up. It was just me and my mom. My grandmother liked certain movies or whatever. Right. She liked her older movies and everything like that. And that's how I kind of like got my introduction and everything. But I can't tell you why like they just weren't. Just it's the same reason like when I was going through school to be an engineer and there was like two girls and all the rest were men. And I legitimately asked her. I said, "Why don't more of you, why don't more women jump into engineering? You're smart enough." Because if you think about it, go back to school, it's just like, well, the girls are all the smart ones. The boys cheated off the girls. So it's like, it's not like you're not smart enough. I'm like, you definitely are. So why not? And she's just like, most of us don't care to. We rather do something else or whatever.
Well, some of the psychological breakdowns. They would say that women are more interested in lean towards interpersonal careers, where most men tend to lean towards more technical careers.
Okay.
I mean, you certainly did that. Myself, I'm actually kind of going against the grain because I'm one of the few men in a educational field which is mostly dominated by women for the most part. Now, obviously, if you go to like preschool, elementary school, whatever, there's tons of women and very few guys. In fact, guys are looked at like, why do you want to look at little kids? So guys are kind of subject to that kind of sexism on the lower level of age range for, say, elementary school. Middle school, high school, you get a good mix of men and women, but you still find a lot more women teachers. Even college, you have more men at that point, but there's still a lot of women, and a lot of women in position of some power on colleges, depending on what colleges, but it's still kind of male dominated. But from, like I said, myself, I'm one of the few guys in the job that I'm doing, and so it's like, but I don't know. I mean, I majored in math and science, so I like technical stuff too. And if you look at the data on this, if you segregate boys and you segregate girls in school, you'll find that girls in a math class, again segregated to just girls, typically perform higher, or the same as the boys do. So it just, when you kind of mix and get the kind of mixture, then it's sort of like you get the kind of the guys, and it's a funny thing too, is like when you put all girls together, you'll have a lot more girls looking down on other girls about fashion and things like that. But in the context of the subject matter, no one in a same-sex class of girls will say, why are you trying to learn math? Because you're all learning math. Why are you trying to do science? Because you're all doing that. But when it gets around boys, it's kind of weird, because now it's like, I don't know. It's almost like something weird happens to their psyches where the girls say, I don't want to be smarter than the boy because that doesn't look good, because the boys doesn't want me to be smarter than him. I guess that's trickier. But I do know if you separate the two, I know the studies and data's out there. If you have all girls and all boys in math and science, the girls typically do the better or the same as the boys for the most part.
That's interesting. That's real interesting. Yeah.
So, and it could be a matter of the girls are supporting each other and the guys are kind of supporting each other. But then when you kind of mix them, and the guys kind of make fun of the guys if he wants to help the girl, and the girls are looking down on the other girls because the guys paying attention to them or whatever. And again, it depends on the age and whatnot, but for the most part, that's out there. So it's been out there for, I don't know, for years, 20, 30 years probably.
I understand. It's just
So again, there's no reason why a girl can't be a scientist.
Exactly.
I mean, again, I personally myself, I mean, you're ex-military guy too. I think women should sign up for selective service, and there's a big push to do that now. Because women can do pretty much everything. I mean, Israel's had women in the service in their military since they've started, pretty most part. I mean, the Israeli Defense Force, they got women, boom, no problem.
That's right.
I don't think they've had a problem with that. So, but then again, they got a small force and it's a small country, so they gotta have that. But anyway. I think in some ways that's better. And again, even if you don't put, let's say, well, women can't be in combat roles. Women can fly helicopters. Women can drive trucks. They can repair airplanes.
That's right.
And somebody was telling me that they said, like, in the technical fields, I noticed that there weren't a lot of women. I go, well, why not? Maybe they weren't trying to get into that. I don't know. I mean, I knew plenty of women electronics people that I worked in. I don't know. You worked in electronic kind of field too in the Marine Corps, so
one.
Yeah, see, they got one. But then again, Marine Corps I think the Marine Corps has a lower female overall ratio than, say, the Air Force or the Navy, probably.
I would think so too. Yeah, there was definitely, at least on the base I was on, there was.
Check the numbers yourself, but I think the Marines, I typically have the least number of females, I think, in the service branch, I think.
Yeah, but it was just
check them yourself. If not, comment down there and tell us.
Yeah, and like I said, it's always been kind of a weird thing for me, because maybe it's because I grew up around, I grew up around with my grandmother and my stepsister. So like I grew up in with my aunt, my mom, so it's like I grew up around women. So I'm like I I never really understood, like, okay, like I'm into, technical stuff and everything like that. And I see all these other guys that are into technical stuff. And then I'll see like, maybe I'll see a girl. And I'm like, but why? Why? I never understood it. Like you said, it's probably something just with the psyche, or maybe it's just over time. This is like something like they just got to get out of that mindset. Like, this is all I can do, or this is, and I know there's some women that are like that. Like, this is all I can do. I'm like, no, no, your potential is way higher than that, So, and I'm the first person to say it all the time. My sister is way smarter than me. I am the first person to say that.
Right.
But
and I gotta say, when I was younger, my mom would take me to the movies a lot. Mostly because I'm like 5 years younger than my closest brother. So I was a lot younger. And then when he got to a certain age, he was able to drive and, do a part-time job. And I was still a little bit too young for that. So my mom we would go and do stuff over the summer or something. And like I said, we would do that. Now as I got older, of course, I would go to the movies with my brother or with, we got drive by myself or whatever. So, and then of course, videotapes and all stuff got a lot bigger. So people stayed home a lot more than went to the theaters. And my mom worked at a video store, so she got plenty of movies. Wow. So we didn't have to,
hey, look at that.
It's like, so, okay, yeah, for the most part, but I don't know. Anything else?
No, that's it. I think
we analyzed this to death.
Yeah. Talked about everything going on in the movie and out. So
yeah. Society.
Yeah.
Girl power. All that,
All right. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll be back with our last review.
So, well, our final assessment would be kind of like,
I think it's a poor quality film.
Yeah.
But I think you enjoy it a little bit more than I.
Yeah. I mean,
that's rare too, because
I know. I mean, I like when you got bored, I was actually paying more closely attention. Now, we didn't say anything about Goose the cat, though.
Oh, I mean, okay. So
in terms of cats, I mean, orange tabbies are cute. And we like animals. We like animals. I mean, he's a vegetarian, so he doesn't eat them. And so, like, we like dogs and cats and animals and stuff. So it's like, cool, I mean, a lot of it was CGI.
That bothered me a lot.
That was kind of silly.
Because it looked like it was too much. It was too Garfield for me.
It was. And then the fact that the cat scratched Nick Cage's eye, which we said earlier, was just, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, because back in was it Winter Soldier? He says, the last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
Exactly.
I don't think he really trusted Captain Marvel that much, because he just met her and only knew her for a few hours or a day at most.
He seemed pretty cool with her.
I don't know. And then the cat, I mean, and that's it. I'd mentioned this before, but I did notice, like, when she was on the screen with Fury, or he was, I don't know, this is a bit kind of critical, but he seemed less manly in some ways.
He was a little bit more bumbly.
Yes, he was. Yeah, like, I can't do anything. Oh, look at Kitty Cat. Oh, she's like, no, Fury, come on. Okay, I'll be back, Kitty Cat. I'm like, really? Come on. I mean, I'm great. He loves cats. Although we never hear anything else about Goose ever after
again.
This. Okay, whatever. Maybe it's tender. And Goose passed away and he felt sad. I don't know. But then I noticed, like, when Captain Marvel wasn't around, Fury was more manly because he got into the fight with the Skrull guy.
Right.
I mean, there was a knockdown, drag out. And you can definitely see he was totally outmatched. Although the Skrull, I guess, were somewhat stronger than people. Although that was never really
the Skrull, he beat the Skrull. It was the he beat one Skrull, but couldn't beat the other guy.
Right, the main guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the issue. And I'm just like, so when she wasn't around, he could be tougher, but then when she was around, she had to be tougher or something. I don't know. He just seemed weird. He seemed more like happy-go-lucky and bumbling.
Sidekick.
Sidekick. Yeah. But that's about it.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a 2-minute break, and we'll be back with our last review, Alita, Battle Angel. We'll be right back.
Much better.
All right, guys, we're back. Last review.
We're back.
Last review of the day. We're going to get into some Alita, Battle Angel. We just saw this. It'll be 2 weeks ago as you're watching this, but last weekend as we were actually recording this. And I didn't not like it, like
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
It was okay. It has some storytelling issues, but we'll get into that pretty shortly. What did you like about the film?
It started right into the movie. There was no setup. It went, boom, here we are. This is what we're doing. Immediately, I think within 5 minutes, she was assembled.
Yes.
I don't think there was any like build up at all. We knew nothing about Christoph Waltz's character or the doctor, whatever his name is down here. We just said, let's just do it. And so that was kind of cool because it was a fairly long movie. It didn't really, I don't know if did it feel that long? I knew Captain Marvel did feel long, felt long. This one didn't really feel long. I mean, it was a 2-hour movie, but it didn't really feel that so much. Yeah,
I didn't feel the length of it. I mean, I knew it was long, but I didn't feel the length of it.
Right.
But that was just because of other issues with the film. But we'll get into that later.
Because I was gonna say, with this film, the good part was, like I said, it started right away. The world was very immersive. There was it was a real living, breathing thing.
Yes.
Even that, I mean, they really fleshed out that neighborhood really well.
It's yes.
And you're like,
because set design, the CG, top.
Yeah, there was a couple of spots. It was like, but for the most part, it was like you're like because it was really interesting because I was so drawn in by the world that I kind of. Like I didn't jot a lot of stuff down. I was like really kind of immersed in the world. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Every now and again, it broke it, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, it's a movie. Oh yeah. I was gonna say I was initially creeped out by her eyes in the video in the clips, but it didn't really bother me.
It fit perfectly.
It did, and I'm like, it was because obviously in the trailers she was predominantly featured,
right?
But then as the as the movie played on, there was other characters. The world was so immersive, and it just really didn't creep me out like that. With when every time they showed it was mostly her face,
right?
It was creeping me out a little bit, to be honest with you. And I was like, I don't know, it's creeping me out, but it didn't bother me. So her CG was really, really awesome. I mean, she looked like a robot, but like a real robot.
Right? Yes, she looked very, very much like she was actually there. And a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that she was actually there, like the actual actress. I got a picture of her somewhere, but the actual actress was there on set. And she, she was doing all the motions and everything, but like as far as like they created a CG character out of her. And everything. Right. And I thought that was really cool. Like, she was very expressive. That helped out quite a bit. So you always kind of knew what she was either feeling or what she was things that were possibly going through her mind and everything like that.
Yep.
I enjoyed that a lot. Sometimes she got a little bit too emotive. I was like, okay, you probably could tone it down a little bit. There was there was a moment where like they're watching the violent rollerball thing, and she got a little bit too laughy and too much of enjoyment into it. I was just kind of like, all right, you're kind of scaring me a little bit.
It's like getting creepy again. Yeah.
She's just like, I like this. I'm like, oh, okay, all right now, all right.
Right.
But I really liked Alita. Like the CG with her was, like I said, top notch. And it's not James Cameron film. I'm not really all that surprised by that.
Right.
It wasn't just her. It was quite a few other people. Like you were saying, like the overall. I don't have a picture of the overall the world as itself and stuff like that, but just other characters.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this guy.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Ed Skrein. I don't remember the actual name of his bot, but But yeah, the character played by Ed Skrein was that looks real to me. I mean, I know all of that is CGI. Her body, his body. Like his face is imposed on something, but I'm just like that. I'm sorry, that looks real, man. Even like her hair, because her hair is synthetic. Right. So I'm like, it looks like a wig. It looks like a wig would look. I'm just like, that's like nice little details, and it's like one of those things like that may not be intentional, but because it looks like a wig, it works because it's synthetic. It's not real.
But it moved in the wind. Yeah, I mean, she moved. It moved with her, so it was definitely, real in that regard. So
Yeah.
But in terms of good, that was kind of all that was really good. Yeah. See, that's a really good.
That's a
I mean,
good shot.
Because his face. I mean, that was him.
Yeah.
And
again, that might have to do with the color grading. And
could be.
You know, it masks
Ed,
some of that.
His name is the actor's name is Ed Skrein.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked really good.
Yes.
The robot body was just really pretty good. Now I will say what didn't look good was the scene at the beginning middle when she finds out the doctor is a hunter or whatever they call him, with the spider lady, and when she jumped in the corner, I was like, hey, I was like that was that looked really. It reminded me of the scorpion king guy. It looked just like that because he's up in the corner going and she's going I wonder if they borrowed it. Like so that was like I was like, hey, flashback. And the thing is, all of the people in that bar she went to were all cyborgs.
Yes,
all of, and they were, good hunters. They all, were good hunters. They all had money. They all were, whatever. But then the only one who wasn't a cyborg was the doctor, who still was a good hunter.
Right.
I mean, the part at the beginning with the spider lady and like that, he was tracking down bounties. And he had this crazy big, hammer, sickle, spiky thing with rockets on it or something. I'm like, but he's just a dude, and he's an older dude. I'm like, and he's able to, fight off these people with this cool, hat and leather duster or something. And but he's able to do this, and he's just a doctor. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How is he able to do this pretty darn easily when these other guys, can do it obviously easily, because the guy has that monofilament nano sword thing, the Ed Skrein robot guy.
Right.
Zban.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's able to do it pretty easily. And the other guy, I don't know. He's only human. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that was that was going to go into one of the negatives that I was going to get into. But if you're listening, we're talking about Christoph Waltz's character, Dr. Ito. From both the anime and the movie. But one of the other things, like, and I have to, I feel like I keep going back to her emotions or whatever. But there is that particular hunter scene. Because this is a character who's trying to figure out, she's trying to remember her past. Right. She kind of knows that, Dr. Ito knows something about her and everything. She kind of knows that, but at the same time, she's naive, like you kind of say, like, the whole vision thing. It's like, well, I was born yesterday. So, but she is trying to figure out, she's looking at the world as if it's the first time she's ever seen it. So she's learning about a lot of things. And
that was cool because you immersed with her. Because you hadn't seen it either. See,
exactly.
There you go, Captain Marvel. We had nothing about the world. She knew nothing about the world. We learned about it.
Exactly.
That was awesome because we were like, oh, that's really cool. It was like, she should be doing that. There's going to be consequences. Oh, there was consequences. Oh, what's happening? So you got to see all that when she experienced it, which was great. That's what made this so much better in that way than, say, Captain Marvel learning that we already knew. And like, well, she's not really learning anything. We already kind of know it.
Exactly.
So it was no surprise. This had surprises.
Exactly. And she was aware of the fact, like, she's aware that she's a cyborg and everything. She wasn't like a human waking up in a cyborg's
and she was cool with it. The people were cool with it because that's a normal world. And
exactly.
we got that.
That's the norm of the world and everything. Like good world building in that regard. But going back to that particular scene when she launches into combat mode, because that's the first time she fights. And like she was kind of aware of some abilities she had with the rollerball scene. Like she played rollerball with some kids on the street, and she was kind of aware with it. It was like, okay, I could do something. So okay, that's interesting. But when she went into fight mode, and it was like instinct took over, like her natural, I guess, programming, of what you want to call it, actually took over. And then when it was over, something they didn't have to do, but I thought it was a very, very beautiful touch, a very good way to do some visual storytelling, is she stood there and her eyes were wide and she was shaking, and I was like, dude, thank you. Thank you for that emotion, because you know everything is going through. Anger is going through, adrenaline, fear, what the hell did I just do type thing, what just happened, and like everything, all of that is going through her mind. And I'm like, that was beautiful. You
Because
didn't have to do that.
she smashed two cyborgs and did a flying X kick and ripped the guy's arm off.
Yes.
You're like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that was one of the things. Like, she did all of that stuff. She did it out of instinct. She didn't plan to do it. It just happened. And then, like, when it's all over, and it's like, you know, in real life, it's like you go through these things, you do all this stuff out of instinct, and then all of a sudden, when it's over, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the downtime, you come back, you're like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah,
and that's where the kind of adrenaline kind of wears off. And you're like, whoa.
Yes.
Ooh, I got to sit down for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, whew,
and
okay.
they had that moment. They didn't have to do it. She could have just stood there looking badass or whatever, but they actually decided to bring some human element there to her once again. And I was like, oh, that was very good. You didn't have to do that, but very good. Good choice there. I don't know if that was an actor choice or if that was what she was directed to do, but that was I really, really enjoyed that.
Right.
Like I said, I definitely enjoyed her emotions throughout the movie. Like I said, she's a very emotive actor. She was in Bird Box, actually.
She was in Bird Box?
Yeah, she was she was the police officer in Bird Box. That's not a good picture of her, but yeah, what is her name?
Rosa something. Rosa Salazar.
Salazar, yeah. She was in Bird Box. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, she was in Bird Box, and I didn't expect to see her in that, but I'm just like, okay. But I can tell from that movie that she was very expressive. You know, like when something happened, and you know, she's a police officer, so when she broke, it was kind of like, oh crap, like the stuff's really going down. She broke, so I'm like, you know, she broke her bearings or whatever. So I'm like, okay. But yeah, like I really enjoyed that. Like I said, that was the main thing that I really enjoyed was the character of Alita. Oh boy. Okay, so that's kind of it. Other than, like I said, the CGI really, really top notch.
Yeah.
The effects. I mean, like I said, I didn't even realize I was looking at CGI half the time anymore. It's just like I didn't. I mean,
the blend between real, because a lot of it was like the sets were real and the CG was just great. I mean, obviously, you know, when that had the giant robot ball thing, we knew that was CG, but we had already gotten so immersed into the world that we just forgot.
Yes,
we really did. I mean, I don't think anything really took us out of it.
No.
No. Yeah.
What I will say, and this is going to encompass a lot of the bad, is that there is a lot shoved into this movie.
Yes. Yes.
There is so much, and I did some I guess reading, and this is actually two manga books shoved into one.
I could believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did seem like a lot happened in a week. A lot happened in I think it was not even a week, maybe. I mean, like I said, the movie started, and it needed to start right away because there was so much stuff going on. It started right away.
And I understand why it needed to start where it started and everything.
Right.
But it's like I said, I love that visual storytelling. I would have liked to have some more development for Dr. Ito. I would have liked more character moments between, and the movie really needed it. To be perfectly honest, the movie needed more character moments with Dr. Ito, setting up who he is. You know, why is he going out there to the junkyard every day? I mean, you eventually figure it out and stuff, but it's like it would have been nice to have these moments with her, like show him like, oh, like they show pictures of his family, show pictures of his daughter and stuff. Show him like, okay, he's in this state. This is who he is. So we can go along. And when he finds Alita, and then this bond starts to form, you understand it a little more. You sympathize a little bit more. But they don't spend a lot of time in the movie together because the movie has to constantly move because there's so much going on. In the original books, her finding out about herself is one book. The roller derby, rollerball thing, that's another book. It's completely separate. So,
well, the movie, like I said, it takes place over about maybe a week, maybe. But then it cuts, and then it's 4 months later.
Yes,
and like the last maybe 8 minutes of the film, and you're like, well, baby,
it's like, oh, okay,
and it's like, okay, so then it kind of ended like there's gonna be another one.
I would say so because I think it's made. Last I checked, it made like 3 times its budget. I think. So that's pretty good. I mean, I'm glad people are going to see it,
Right.
Because a lot of people were thinking that this wasn't going to do very well.
Yeah, well, that's a tricky one. It is. I mean,
and it's a Alita. It's not anything that people are very familiar with.
right. Well, now from what I'm seeing from the box office right now, it's not really making us money back.
Oh, it isn't.
That's what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Now this is just the USA, but the world one might be better.
Yeah,
world might be better.
Yeah, that's what I was probably looking at.
Yeah. So, but that might be an issue because I know the other countries,
What was it made for? Like 180 something
170 million.
170 million.
Yeah,
When I saw it, the last I saw it, it was like 4 something worldwide. 400 some million for
wow.
worldwide.
Because the United States was 182. I'm sorry, 82 rather.
Okay.
So that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they definitely, I mean, you still got like what, about 100 million to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
which they could get easily from all the other parts of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, China would be a big one. Japan and China would probably.
Yeah,
pick
Japan
this
and
up for
China
the most part.
definitely. Yeah.
And then Europe probably would like this as well. Australia, the Far East kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. But what I was saying is like because they shoved so much into this movie,
Right.
they started to forego a lot of character development and character moments.
Yeah.
And it was just I don't want to say typical James Cameron because I don't want to rip on the guy. I don't want to rip on any director, but it's kind of typical. Like you have these good, really, really good visual movies.
Right.
And you don't focus a lot on the storytelling. I mean, like,
Right.
Or if you do, it's something we've already seen numerous times. You don't focus on the characters enough. I was one of the few people that I always felt like I felt like I was the only one for a while until the internet came about. I got on the internet and I was like, oh, there's people that agree with me.
Like,
but Avatar, when that movie came out, I was like, this is Pocahontas. I mean, it looks good. I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks good, especially for the time. The effects now are dated.
Right.
But, well, this looks really good. But I'm like, the storytelling wise, character wise, I'm like, I'm not invested in any of these people. They're very cliched.
Yeah.
And did you like it?
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I didn't. I thought it was too much hype. A lot of it I didn't understand. I'm like, none of this makes sense. I'm just like,
there's a lot of plot holes.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
But at the same time, I'm like, this is Pocahontas.
Right.
Like, it's literally everything, every element from Pocahontas, it's right there. So I'm like, there's a couple of other examples, but like the James Cameron, I'm just like, all right, this is kind of typical.
Right.
Like you had your great visuals, and then your storytelling just kind of lacks a little bit.
Right.
Like, I wish you hadn't done that because I was hoping that this would be the one anime adaptation that Hollywood could do, and they would do it correctly.
Right.
Because I saw Ghost in the Shell. I wasn't impressed with that. I'm like, oh, this is a movie that I saw. Not a lot happened, to be perfectly honest. And,
right.
and every other thing before that, you had The Last Airbender. Well, it's not anime, but,
Right.
But Dragon Ball Evolution, all this other stuff. I'm just like, oh, y'all. You guys suck at anything anime. Why?
Well, but see, that's the thing. Like, I personally liked, and some people didn't, but Ghost in the Shell series, the animated series.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, obviously better than the movie, but
right.
yeah. So, but some people don't like it, and I was like, well, I'm not a super fan of anime stuff. I like anime stuff,
right?
But then again, some people are like super, like, they don't think it should be dubbed and everything like that. I'm like,
right,
well,
yeah.
I understand you're like a purist, but I'm like, it is a cartoon in essence, and they could really dub it without much of an issue.
Right.
I mean, because we grew up on the kung fu flicks on the Saturday afternoon, and they were dubbed.
Yeah, they were, exactly.
And no offense, because as a kid, you don't want to sit here and read a lot when you're watching a cool. Because remember, it's visual.
Exactly.
You don't want to sit here and read and then miss the visual, because then you miss some of the finer details, I think.
That's true.
So for animated stuff, I personally think if you like reading, go for it. I don't. Just because I would rather see the visuals, because that's what's showcased here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would agree.
The arguments are valid of, well, so and so's voice has more oomph behind it, or gravitas, or whatever. I go, again, I totally buy that. I totally agree with you. I get it. But at the same time, I would rather see it Because if that's the case, then you know what? I don't know if I understood Japanese to a large extent, then I'd listen to it as a radio play or something. Because then you have the voices that would really carry it more than say the visual, because you're trying to see something like this. This movie is visual.
Yes, very.
Bottom line, this is a visual. I mean, movies are visual in general,
right?
But this one is super visual because there's a lot going on. Like I said, the world is immersive. It's really cool.
Exactly.
Now,
I definitely agree there. I used to be one of those purists. Actually, I was like, no, I gotta watch it. I gotta watch the original. I gotta watch the original in its Japanese dub and everything like that. And I was like, I used to be one of those guys. And then over time, I started to just, it's not really a big deal. It's like, as long as I get the right emotions when I need to get them, as long as, the storytelling is good and everything like that, I'm like, as long, and the voice acting is good,
right,
and I'm fine.
Well, I mean, have you ever seen Seven Samurai?
Yeah, the original?
Yeah. I mean, I saw it subtitled, and I've seen it dubbed in English. There's, in my opinion, there's no difference.
Yeah,
I didn't see a difference.
I'll agree.
And most of the Japanese movies I've seen have been subtitled, which again, there's not a lot going on in that necessarily. I mean, there are parts that are like in Seven Samurai, the battle scenes, there's a lot going on. But when that's going on, there's not a lot of text. There's not a lot of narration. It's action. So they figured that out. But in animated, it's all visual for the most part. And there's some symbolism there you don't want to miss in some ways. Of course, you see that. But if you're reading the animated, scrawls, that takes away, in my opinion. I don't know.
I mean, like I said, I definitely a random tidbit about myself. It actually it messed up my reading ability to a certain degree to read out loud, because when I would watch, I'd watch the anime and everything like that, and I would have the subtitles on and stuff like that, I would glance down and I would read it so fast just so I could get back to the image and everything.
Exactly.
But what happened with me doing that is because I read it so fast, my mind is actually traveling faster than I can actually read it out loud. So I'll get ahead of myself.
Right.
And now granted, like doing YouTube and stuff has helped out a lot with that, because I write the script out and then I read it and everything like that. But because I was doing that so fast, I would just be like, da-da-da, and then I'd be right back to the action. I read it in my mind so fast that I didn't process it 100%. So when I would actually have to read out loud, I would do the same thing. I would just go, and then I'm like, but I guess my mouth is behind me or something like that, or the motor skills or something is like, it gets behind or something, like there's a lag or something. I'm like, and then I'll stutter and I'll have to gotta start over or something like that. So like in a way, it kind of messed me up a little bit. No, I'm not like that's saying that's going to happen to everybody, but that's what happened to me. And I had to kind of get over that. And that may have been one of the main reasons why I dipped away from, I started just watching the English dub mostly,
right?
Just so I can just watch it and just, I don't have to read anything. But that's also why I have to have subtitles on, even though I'm not reading them, because I'm so used to it. If I don't have it on the screen, it's naked.
Well, I mean, but I will say the other thing too. It depends on how it's done. If it's in letterbox form and the subtitles are in the black bar area, that's fine. But a lot of times they'll be up in the action. And so actually what you do is you miss it because you'll have the white letters on a white background. You're like, I can't. And all of a sudden, again, it takes you out of it. That's just my thing.
Oh, yeah. I completely understand. Completely understand. But like I said, there's just so much in this movie. There's too much going on.
Yes.
And it, like, the character development suffers because of that. And that's a big thing for me. I'm just like, we should be developing these relationships and everything. But we needed to have action, so we got to introduce the rollerball thing. And I'm like, no, you could have done that in the second movie, and it would have been fine. And then whatever you're going to do for this sequel, most likely they're going to do the sequel. Whatever they're going to do for the sequel, man, I mean, just then leave that for the third movie. Hey, you got a trilogy out of it, probably the way that it should have been done. So that was my thing.
The character thing you were saying, like Jennifer Connelly's character, it's like, Alita, Battle Angel, you gave her a daughter's body. I thought you destroyed that, and you gave her name. I don't like her. I don't like you anymore. I'm gonna lurk in the shadows. Oh, we have to get her body now. Something weird about her. Okay. I'll help you now. Okay, I'm cool. Oh, I'm dead. I mean, it's like
literally, she just kept popping in and out.
I know. It's like, how did she end up there? I don't know. It's like they break from the rollerball arena where she's there, and then go to save her friend, and all of a sudden, where he's there at this, I guess, burnout church or something.
Yep.
She was just at the rollerball thing. And again, if I'm wrong, please, comment. I swear she was just there, and all of a sudden they ended up here, which was totally random. Now, yeah, I guess they could have found it, but holy cow, they didn't have teleporters as far as we know. So how the heck did she get there so fast? And not be detected by people hearing her landing on a spaceship or a vehicle or whatever, and then going around behind the wall and talking on the communicator, which they know they're going to hear because she's right there.
Exactly.
So we're like, what? I don't know. And her change of heart, which was like that.
Yes.
And then at the end, it's like, oh, she's dead now. Okay. And it's like, and this is like, okay, whatever. That was pretty much it. And there was a bit melodrama going on for a lot of it.
True.
Especially in the bar speech with the thing at the, and then the bad guy shows up at a convenient time after the bar speech. And they killed the dog. What is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
You don't kill the dog.
You don't do that. That's the one thing. That's the cardinal rule. You don't kill the... Yeah, it just...
Put the dog in peril. Yes. Injure the dog. Yes. Don't kill the dog. Don't ever.
But it makes you hate the villain more, so... Hey.
It would have made you hate the villain if he had just injured the dog. You're like,
That's
oh, no.
True.
And it would have given you a little more like, oh, I hope the dog makes it. And the doctor has to save the dog and put some bionic leg on him or gives him a bionic heart or something.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, because the one guy had all these bionic dogs.
Exactly.
Yeah, these robotic dogs. Okay, fine.
Exactly.
And I'm like, oh. But then he joins their side because like, I can't believe he doesn't like dogs, or whatever. So poor Jeff Fahey. I mean, it's a paycheck, but I liked him as an actor. Yeah. I still like him, but yeah, that kind of I don't know.
There was something you mentioned after we saw the movie, the convenience with them finding her
yeah. So
in the ship.
Right. So the boy's like, hey, let's go out past the city. What's out there? Cool stuff. Yay! Go out there. Hey, what is that? Well, it's a spaceship. What about it? Well, they're afraid to go on it because it's Mars tech, and that was the enemy or whatever. And they go, well, we need some kind of, we have no how to get in there because it's underwater. And I'm like, so we have cyborg robot people and dogs, but we can't figure out a scuba tank?
Exactly.
Really?
It's like we can scuba today.
I mean, they were
way advanced.
But we saw her on the moon with laser weapons, fighting on the moon in spacesuits, and they can't figure out how to get an oxygen tank to work underwater.
Can't go underwater.
Are you kidding me?
It's the Mario and Sonic syndrome. As soon as they touch the water, they die.
I know. It's like
all the rings come out.
Yeah. The rings. That would have been funny. Rings everywhere. It's like, quick, grab them. The rings thing. I kill me. Okay. Oh my God, I lost it now. The rings everywhere. Coins everywhere. Rings everywhere. And so that's the thing. I'm like, wait a minute. No one's figured out a scuba tank and a mask? Or hell, just a mask. Hold your breath. It's not that far into water, is it? It's a lake. It's not an ocean. So I don't know. But she jumps down there, walks right in, of course. And it's not like she has to open a door. It's open underneath.
Exactly.
No one's tried that.
Exactly.
Okay, fine.
No one's tried that.
Like,
okay.
I don't know, but whatever. So it's like, or get a really long hose. I know they got hoses.
Yeah.
Get a really long hose and have someone attach it at the top. And then you get down there,
look,
boom.
Someone built, look, and to a similar point, someone built those fingers that go really, really long. Use that.
I know.
You have that.
And so she goes into the spaceship, and then because she knows this and she's able to do stuff because she kind of instinct.
Yeah.
And then she opens up this panel, which again no one else could have done but her or someone like that. So I get that. And then there was all these. There was all these empty spaces of robot except for one. And I'm like, you can't have like 5 robot bodies, like 2.5. Like as I spit there, like a few are broken, but then you cobble together and get one working one. No, you find a perfectly formed, perfect size for her robot body.
Yeah.
And it's the last one because why not?
Yes. And
really?
I will admit it would have been funny if it was a little bit too big for her.
I know. A little head on the really big body. That would have been funny. And I will say in terms of that, and I know I said this in the movie, I'm going to say it. She's a young woman.
Yes.
When she had the first young, not really female, because
Yeah.
there was really kind of nondescript, cyborg
Right.
body. The CG was a little off in terms of her body dynamics because first when they had just a robot body, she just looked a normal robot body.
Right.
But then when she had a T-shirt on, she apparently had cleavage.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
again, it was like with the robot body, no cleavage. So did they? I guess they had fake cleavage or something. I don't know. It seemed to kind of inflate, deflate as it went, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then when they gave her the heavy duty robot cyborg body, then that was kind of already a
Right.
little older preform. Which again, but before that seemed a lot weird.
Yeah, and
I don't know, it
it
seemed
wasn't
weird.
going back and forth. And I will agree with that, and because she's fully CGI here,
Right,
But I
yeah.
think there were scenes where they actually had the actress
Right, probably
on screen, and she's a little.
Well, there was
more,
there was a thing you showed where they showed like her and right there.
Yeah.
Because they probably had, for the most part, just her upper part of her body.
Right.
Because she's a small woman anyway.
right, exactly.
And so they probably were just doing the hair and the head, and they probably did the arms, but her body in general was probably just her body because you didn't see anything because she's wearing clothes.
Right.
So they could just have her arms that they put the stuff over, and the
Right.
rest was real.
Exactly. So she's probably a little bit more. She's definitely more endowed than the
Android body.
It
Yeah.
was so
It
funny.
just was weird. I'm like, because again, I'm not creepy or anything. I'm not this dirty old man or anything. But I'm just like, we're critiquing it. I'm looking at. I mean, again, it's visual.
Yeah,
The whole thing is visual.
exactly.
And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, so because there's all these different robots and cyborg people
Right.
and what, and so like the one guy with the mohawk and only his head is everything else is completely computer or robot. That guy and then the other guy, the Zapan.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so. But then you're looking and like, well, things are like for that guy, nothing changed on him until they updated it.
Exactly.
So it was kind of weird. But again, it was just when she had clothes on, which was odd because I was like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know.
And it's a movie goof. It was just so funny when you were saying it because you
was
were
like,
so defensive. You were like, but look, I'm not trying to trying to be this.
yeah.
We're like, it's okay, Will. It's all right. He's like, I don't want you to think that I'm attracted to
I'm not.
teenage
Yeah, I know.
robot
It's
girls.
not at all.
I'm like,
but it's just.
why said that?
I'm like, it just was weird. No, but again, it's
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I'm just like, it was kind of weird because I was like, okay, she's got a robot body. Okay, cool. I'm buying in that. She's cyborg. And again, it was so immersive that I didn't notice any of that because it seemed like I'm in that world. That's cool. And I just was totally bought into it. The whole, how the guy was riding the big wheeled motorcycles, unicycle thing. And, now I will say the robot cops, the big, slow, clunky, stand aside, citizen,
the RoboCop cops.
Yeah,
basically,
that were
so.
moving at like a snail's pace compared to these cyborg guys that are jumping and flipping and landing on the walls and jumping and doing back kicks off walls. But apparently the enforcer is this really slow moving crab thing with guns.
All right, something's backwards here.
Yeah, I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're only a robot, but holy cow, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could see them as like maybe a first line of defense, and then you have another line of defense that's more agile, that can jump around or something.
Put wheels on them.
Yeah,
They can go faster.
Let them move faster or something. I was like, I could run away from them.
And you could, and it's funny because when the thing, there was a scene near the end where you had like I think two of them. And you had, there was another scene before that, but when it was walking through the area, but you had the two guys walking with it, and they were walking really slow. Like they were kind of doing the wedding walk, like step, stop, step, stop, step, stop. And they were doing like left, right, left,
Exactly.
left, right, left. And I'm like, because they couldn't walk, because they were like, hold it right there, we're coming. Oh, they'll be here in a minute. Yeah.
Halt.
Yeah. I mean, no offense to the grandma on the walker would have outran them. I was like, I don't know. So that I thought was kind of funny too.
Yeah,
I was like,
little.
I don't know.
Little stuff like that, but it comes down to stuff like you can. I mean, that may have been a goof that may have been left in, but like as far as the like the spaceship and it can't go underwater and stuff like that would have been, you would have had time to flesh that out more if you didn't put so much in the movie. You might have had a better reason or something like that, or more time to focus on like, hey, this actually seems a little silly, so we should probably do something a little bit more. You would have had time, but like I said, they were trying to throw so much in here, and like I said, I know they wanted that action. I know they wanted that action of the rollerball so they could have the spectacle spectacle of stuff on screen. But and I don't know how you feel about this. I think you might agree, but in my opinion, like the world itself was a spectacle. Like the action was nice.
The world,
but the world itself was spectacle. And I'm just like, man, I'm into this just right now, And even like the little, and it goes back to what I was saying too, like fewer fight scenes or fewer action sequences. When you build to them properly and you build that tension, it works a lot better than when you just have so many of them consecutively back to back to back. And it's like, all right.
Well, and I will say about the world that one part that didn't really, I didn't understand was when they went out away from the city, the countryside was really nice. Yeah. I mean, they didn't seem like, we have to get back before dark because, large things will eat us.
Right.
They were just like, we're out here in the countryside. This is great. Look how pretty it is. There's beautiful water. We like to hang out here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I'm like, so why don't more people go out there? I mean,
it was called the Badlands, actually.
They didn't look that bad. It was like green stuff. There was real water you could drink. I mean, it didn't look all that bad. And I'm like, so why is everybody crowded into this one city? There didn't seem to be a reason for that they described that because they weren't still at war with whoever, the Mars people or whatever. I mean, there was no like, we can't be out here because it's lawless, because it was kind of lawless in the city.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I don't know. It does seem kind of weird. I mean, there was like farming on the outskirts, but then again, there was that lush jungle where the spaceship was. I'm like, it doesn't look that bad unless
migrate out and stuff.
I don't know.
I'm like, people are coming out here.
Right.
They seem like they're fine, but I don't know.
I just seem weird. I mean, I guess I don't know. That part I didn't get. I'm like, well, that seems. Why wouldn't more people go out to the countryside and go live on their own and not be bothered? But unless they're worried about people chopping them up and steal their body parts, that's something. But of course, that happens in the city.
That happens in the city anyway.
Yeah, so it's like, you know what? It would be. And here's the thing: if you had small groups of people living out in the outskirts, people probably wouldn't go there because, like, well, I might find one person to chop up their body parts, and then maybe like in another month, I might find another person. I can't live off of that. Exactly. But you go to the city, you have like a guy a night you could chop up.
Yeah.
Or two guys a night, or whatever, So you could do all that. So, and then of course you had the big trash pile, which you could, rummage through the trash pile like most people did, because it looked like, remember, the doctor was out there at the beginning and other people were out there looking for stuff. And so you had that going on, which is probably why the city built around it, because you get a lot of stuff from there that they could salvage. So that made sense.
But they still could have migrated out.
They could have.
It didn't seem like there was anything really keeping
because they talked about this was the only city left. And I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
I mean, why not? I mean, I guess the war destroyed the other cities or whatever, the floating cities, and so this was their last floating city, so it was where everybody was. They never really said anything about other people. I'm assuming other people kind of lived out and about, but it's not like we got to hurry back because of the salvagers, the scavengers, the mole people or whoever will come out in the dark, like kind of like in the Time Machine is like, the Morlocks will come get us or something.
Yeah.
They didn't seem like, giant spiders, nothing. They didn't say anything. They're like, we'll go out and hang out and have a picnic and then come back with a robot body. It's like,
okay. And that's one of those things, like I was saying earlier, like because they were trying to cram so much in there, a lot of these issues could have been solved if you would have split this into two movies.
Right.
A lot of these issues you wouldn't have had to have dealt with. You wouldn't have had to deal with these world building issues because you would have had more time to dedicate to that.
Right. And then at the end wouldn't have been so chopped and like forced. It's like, let's fast forward to 3 or 4 months. Now she's about to become the champion of this thing. And then that whole thing happened. It's like, and then the end.
Yeah.
It's like,
and,
what?
And it was one of those endings that was like, all right, this probably means something to the people who are really into the anime. Because like I said, I didn't read the manga until after the movie.
Right.
So I'm like, this probably means something to those people who are really into the anime and stuff like that. But to like your general audience moviegoer, you're just kind of like, who's that guy?
Right.
I was like, okay, I understand he's the big bad, but and who is he? What's going on now? So it's kind of like you left this open for a sequel. Definitely. Like I said, they're most likely going to make one. But at the same time, it's like, all right, but you should probably clue the audience in on who that guy is, or something like that. I mean, I think they were trying to do that whole Thanos thing, but it was like, all right, you didn't get Thanos at the end of the Avengers. You got him at the very, very end. So you could have walked out and missed that. altogether. And it's something the fans would obviously get because like your general audience member who doesn't read comics is not going to know who Thanos is or whatever. They might see that and be like, oh, who's that? Like, but it's not going to like, it doesn't affect the movie. You're just kind of like, oh, that's a little bit of additional thing. He's going to come back and stuff like that. But when the movie ends, that's when the credits start. And that's when the movie ends. So you're just kind of like, okay, you got the full story here and you can go. But they did that with this movie. They did that with Ed Norton's character within the movie. So it's kind of like, who the hell is he? It's like, I know who he is now because I read the manga. But if I didn't read the manga, I don't know who he is.
Yeah, I didn't read it, so I have no idea. But I'm like, okay, cool. Ed Norton is get his creepy eyeglasses on looking at people or something. Okay.
Well, the funny thing was, I can't remember who that other is. Peter Stormare. That's who I initially thought that was when I first saw him because I saw like the chin and I was like, oh, it looks like Peter Stormare. And I was like, but does it sound like him?
Right.
And then like he took off the glasses like, oh, it's Ed Norton. Okay. So yeah, you know, it's running too. Mine is.
Yeah. It's a little warm in here, I guess. Probably why.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I didn't not like it.
Right.
It was entertaining. That it's very violent. I don't care what anyone says. This is a rated R movie.
Yeah, it's PG-13, which I was like, ooh.
Yeah, and I was like, just because it's robot parts being
right. Well, there were some human parts they showed more than once.
Somebody does get it pretty bad.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, Futurama's funny with heads in jars, but this one not so much.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, that is. But honestly, that scene was kind of like a Darth Maul scene in Solo. It didn't really need to be there.
Right.
I don't know.
You could have insinuated at it. Or
something.
Or we could have just put two and two together.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or maybe just show the jar. Hey, this is how people call you. See the jar and you let your imagination do the work and everything.
Right.
But as far as like the violence in this movie, like I said, I know it's a lot of robot parts flying around and stuff like that, and limbs flying off and stuff. And I'm like, it's still violent, man. It's visceral violent, dude.
Yeah.
Like there's a point where Alita gets freaking like eviscerated pretty much.
Yeah, and that's the thing that was weird because she handily took care of that guy at the beginning and she was fighting 3 people, including the guy.
Yes.
And I'm like, and she ripped his arm off with like a flying axe kick kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then that battle scene right after the big, we got to band together to blah blah blah. And then he just shows up, and then they go down to his area or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, and then he had the long fingers, really long finger things that were heat seeking and kept moving around. Or whatever.
That he could control.
And I'm like.
But I think that was because like she didn't realize how to the extent that he could control those things. I think that's probably why.
I guess,
but at the same time, I see your point where it was just kind of
all right. She was no threat to him at that point. And just from fingers, really?
Yeah.
Just that?
And it's to your point where you're getting at where it's just like, it's just so she can get the upgrade.
Yeah,
that's it.
But it was a convenience. It's like, oh, I found this robot body. I'm not going to give you that. Okay, I'm almost dead with all my body parts chopped off. I guess I had to give you that now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it happened like right after she found it. Because here's what you had. You had the what's his name, Grish whatever. You had him get the upgrade. Then you had her immediately get the robot body upgrade. I mean, not upgrade, but the robot body, and then have to get the upgrade because she was basically chopped to pieces.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh, well, I got to give you this now to protect you. I'm like,
right. And
well, that's convenient.
Yeah. And the thing was, it was just kind of like, when she's saying like, hey, this is part of me. I want to have this body and everything, because you don't really have time to establish this connection, to where like he's so protective of Alita. You don't have time to establish that. It doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense that he doesn't want to give her the body. It's kind of like she's like, you're a warrior and this, that, and the other, which is why I could never give you this body. And I'm just sitting there like, but why?
Right. Well, he called it a berserker body, but never said to the effect of like, well, I'm worried about what it will do and turn you, and you'll become unstable. Yeah. Something. He didn't really say anything like that. It's like, well, I just worry about this make you unstable because you don't have to be that person and blah 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 blah. And I'm like,
well, and it was also to the effect that I was more thinking of it like, he's looking at her like a daughter.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's what they were trying to get across. But like I said, they didn't spend that time.
No.
So I was kind of
thinking spent more time with the boy.
Exactly. And I was kind of like, if they had spent more time together, you see this father-daughter relationship this bond start to form. You see him be more protective of her and everything, and because like I said, his daughter died from violence and stuff, and involvement in this. Like, oh, I don't want you to be a part of this and everything. Let that build, but we didn't get that, so it didn't make a lot of sense. So so when they went from this to this, it was kind of like, all right, well, now you have to do it,
Yeah, and it's funny because even though he seemed really protective of her, there didn't, other than she's a female, sort of like his daughter-ish, but I don't know, it didn't. It gave him nothing other than finding like the half cyborg person who still had an active brain.
Right.
It's like, oh, I will save you. But he was already that kind of person anyway, we learned later, because he just helped people out and he would do a lot of, like, in fact, he even said in that one battle scene, "Stop, or I won't repair anyone for free." And they went, everybody stopped.
Yes.
And there was no fighting after that point. And I'm like, okay, so he's established that he doesn't necessarily do it for the money because he's the hunter guy for money.
Right.
And, he'll take, whatever, like, little things as payment or what have you.
Right.
So, but I'm like, okay, so he established that. But then I'm like, but he never established that he had a rapport with the girl other than she was a girl and his daughter was a girl.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, just let that, give them time to form that relationship.
I mean, he had her, cyborg body because they were going to put her in it because of something like she couldn't use, like, it was some kind of catastrophic illness and or infirmity because she was in a wheelchair. So again, didn't really, I mean, they talked about it a little bit, but didn't really go into detail. And then like, oh, well, I thought you'd destroy that body. And he says, oh, well, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And then later on he says something like, our daughter's dead, you have to let her go or whatever. I'm like, but he had the body still. So, okay, whatever. I mean, it just seemed kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know. It just seemed strange. Like, how, other than just her being a young girl, that's the only connection to him and the daughter. And he never really had a father-daughter thing with her of the saying, you have to trust me. But he gave her no reason to trust him. It was like, well, you got to be careful because of these things and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, that's what I'm getting at with, like, just they took so much development out just so they could have all this stuff going on. And another thing I wanted to, like, last thing I wanted to hit on was there was, I don't want to say it was a lot of exposition. There had to be like some exposition to her because we have to explain what's going on, and it's a cheeky way to do it, but it makes sense to explain. For like the boy to explain to her, like, okay, this is how things work out here and everything. For take time for him to say some things. Dr. Ito to say some things to her, and just like, okay, this is this, and stuff like that. But it got to a point where people who shouldn't have been explaining things to her or explaining things to her, and I was like, all right, you're doing this because we need to know about it,
right? Yeah.
Just like, because like the character that Jackie Earle Haley plays, this guy right here, he's explaining to her what these dark depths are that he's in right now when they're fighting, and I'm like, like, why are you talking in exposition right now? I'm like, you should be fighting. You came down here to fight, so fight. It's like, you don't have to explain a sewer to us necessarily. I'm assuming it's going to tie into something else later on, but I'm just like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you have to have people explain the movie to you now because you're moving so fast, because you have to, and I'm like, it's stuff like that. I'm just like, man, you should have just took your time, do the one story, get people on board. And
I have to say about that too, at that moment, I'm like, it was very convenient that the bar was built over a giant hole or something that the guy could get through when he jumps through it or busts out of it or whatever he did. Actually, I think he walked in and he jumped through the hole right there.
Right.
I'm like, well, that's convenient. It's like, huh. He knew there was a giant hole. Yeah, there's a giant hole down there. Okay, cool. It's like,
I come here all the time. We're upstairs.
I know. It's like, I tell you what, they don't like me because they're always spending a fortune in putting down the floor. Because I tell you, I'm like, it's like, yeah, I'm just like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems weird.
So a lot of storytelling issues. They had some decent character moments, but not enough of them.
Right.
Should have been a lot more. And like I said, that's because you crammed so much into it. Very good visuals.
Yeah.
Action was good. but like I said, overall, it's like, I, it's better than Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say it's like light years ahead of it.
No, but we discovered what was going on with the girl at the same time she did. We didn't know ahead of time. We were like, well, what's going on with her? And I'd not read the manga, so I didn't know.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I was like, ooh, that thing happens. And then at the end, you see the kid running up the cable, and she's like, you can't do that. And so we're like, now we know, like, yeah, kid, you won't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then now they did do the thing with the, are we spoiling this? I mean, we kind of did, sort of, with the kid, like to kill him. To kill the kid twice.
Oh yeah, they killed him twice. Yeah, you can.
I'm like,
it's
like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things like
it's like, oh no, he's dead, but he's not really dead, but he's sort of dead. But then they give him a robot body, so he's not dead. And then later I go, oh, he died again.
Yeah, and it was like one of those things like both times she could have saved him.
Right.
You know, the first time was just like, all right, you said if you got anywhere near him that you were going to eviscerate this guy.
Yep.
And I mean, he eventually kind of did at the end, cut off his face or whatever, which is funny. But still, it was kind of like, all right, you know, you could have stopped him. You obviously did not want him, you know, your boyfriend to be hurt.
Right.
But you could have stopped him. And then, like, okay, she's hanging on. He's got him by, like, the arm or whatever. And I'm like, you can't do any of your fancy flips or anything like that to get him out of this situation, get both of you out of this situation. I'm like, okay, fine. You know, it was one of those like, all right, this needs to happen for the emotion of it or whatever. But at the same time, like, you killed him once, just let him stay dead then, you know?
Right. But they kind of play fast and loose with the not interfering with the hunters or something, because they said something about that earlier, but then at that moment, then earlier in the film, though, they were going to interfere and kill her.
Right.
In the robot ball thing, and they were and they were like, you're not supposed to do that. It's like, so you're kind of playing fast and loose with the rules. It's kind of like we were joking before, talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, it's more of a guidelines, more of an outline, more of a guidelines than a rules kind of a thing with back Captain Barbossa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's like, but they tried to do that earlier, where they trying to kill her. She didn't have a bounty on her head because if that the case, she would have been a wanted person, and she wasn't. It's like, but they're not worried about them getting in trouble for doing that. But I don't know. So that's the part I'm like, kind of head scratching. I'm like,
exactly.
Fast and loose time.
Yeah, like I said, more time. You know, don't shove so much in there. You can eliminate a lot of these questions or whatever, and you can answer a lot of them. You're not going to answer all of them. There's always going to be something in every movie, no matter how good or how bad it is. There's always going to be, even like you have the greatest movies out there. You can still find like, well, that doesn't make sense. Or like, you know, you still want to find something. So, you know, but if you take your time, you can fix a lot more, or not fix, but you can set up and pay off a lot more consistently if you do take your time and with it and everything. So that's that if James Cameron were watching James Cameron, what's the other guy's, the director's name? Can't remember.
I'm not sure.
Robert Rodriguez. Okay, so James Cameron, Robert Rodriguez, if you ever decide to lower yourself and grace us with a view on this video, take your time. Just take your time. When you do the sequel, just take your time. You know, like, just storytelling. You got us with the visuals now.
Absolutely.
You know, so hey, storytelling. Give us a good sequel, and hey, we'll be
because like I said, with the world, I wanted to learn more about the world.
Yes,
I was really interested. Like, oh, tell me about the world, but they're like, nah, we can't really do that. I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. I was because I did like looking through her big old doe eyes, literal, to see like how the world is and these different things. And she's very trusting, but she's got to be careful. Right. And we're like, oh, be careful, girl. So we were kind of digging that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it kind of got got off a little bit, slanted, and then it kind of, I don't know, melodrama, like the whole thing. But we already went over that.
Yeah.
I don't know if this should have been a trilogy as much as maybe a two-parter. Maybe, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had done it, like I said, they fleshed it out more, and they would have given more backstory and more character development. I think I could have. I think you drag it out. It's kind of like The Hobbit. You would have taken too much out. I think. I don't know.
Perhaps. I mean, I said, like, just because there was so much going on in it, I can see this movie being 2 movies.
Yeah.
So like, if you're already going to have a sequel, if you already got a sequel planned and everything, I'm just like, all right, well, that's automatically a trilogy.
But we talked about it. This could have been easily like a Prime or Netflix.
Yes, could have been a series.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, you know,
good. Yeah.
each like have a. I mean, and of course, you would have had a longer time overall the whole series. So yeah, you could have had 6-hour long.
Right.
Bits and pieces to kind of really spell out everything more and have your cliffhangers thrown in. And then at the end kind of wrap it up, you know, so you could do all that. That's, you know, but anyway, that's about all I got to say. I mean,
same here.
It wasn't a bad time.
Yes.
I mean, in this time where there's not much coming out movie wise, yeah, it was a good filler. I mean, it kind of got you interested in some stuff. And like I said, the computer animation and the world was very immersive in that regard. That was kind of cool.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I'm still a little disappointed this didn't come out last year like it was supposed to. I think it was supposed to come out last November. I don't think they wanted to compete with Aquaman, but for some reason they thought it was okay to compete with Captain Marvel.
Honestly, I think they were going with the girl theme because Captain Marvel was female and this was female. The main you know, protagonist female.
Good point.
So that way it kind of rides on the coattails a little bit. I mean,
good point.
I think, I mean, in terms of money, it got a pretty good, you know, bit of the box office. So,
yeah.
Like I said, it was a chunk of change because we were talking about, you know, it made like, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, the United States, the opening weekend, it got 28 million, which is respectable for February when it came out.
Right.
Then it's not a lot coming out in February, but
exactly.
But overall, so far, it's got 82, almost 83 million.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. Within what, a month? That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's pretty good. Yeah, like I said, the overseas box office, I think that's what blew it up more than because like I said, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it only made like kind of just above twice the budget or whatever.
Right.
I was like, okay. And then after we saw it, then I just looked at the numbers again because like I was watching a few reviews on it and reading some stuff, and I was like, man, people were talking about like they were worried about the box office because it was just like people like if you're interested, like if this looks interesting to you, like you won't be disappointed by it. It's just like, you know, people were just scared because people were worried because it was like, well, this isn't a great movie.
Right.
But it's entertaining and it's visual splendor right there. I'm like, this is one of those things like if you are into visuals, this is what you go to a movie to see, you know? So they were kind of worried because, you know, like I said, not a household name or anything like that.
Right.
No real big name actors. I mean, Christoph Waltz possibly.
Well, Jennifer Connelly and Mahershala Ali, who just won another Oscar.
Yes.
I mean, so and so he's been out there doing stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, just like they were worried that people weren't going to go see this. And I saw the box office again after that. I was like, oh, wow, this made almost 3 times its budget. So I'm like, okay, yeah, it's probably going to get that sequel that it baited. So yeah, like I said, it's okay. It's okay. I think it's like sitting at a 60% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. I think that's pretty fair. I think that's fair for it. You know, it's like, 60, 65.
I think I don't think you would get bored in this movie as much as Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. No. Just because, like I said, the world is so inclusive and draws you in that you're like you're cool to like, oh, this is interesting, oh, that's neat, oh, that's cool. And then as you get more into the world, then you start paying attention more to the story. Then you kind of get lost a little bit,
right? And
you're kind of like, oh, kind of melodrama here, kind of silliness there. Which again, it's silliness in terms of, you know, young kid or, you know, preteen, teenager girl, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you got that, but the better part is, like you said, you get to experience her and her figuring things out through her eyes and the world through her eyes. She doesn't know.
Right.
Whereas Marvel wasn't like that. Right. And so that was cool. And then you got kind of the nefarious, you know, overlord or whoever, you know, literally over your head looking down upon you.
Right.
And then kind of manipulating some people and whatnot. There's some, like I said, there's always some kind of happenstance and convenience that happens like they did in this one. But I don't know. For the most part, I enjoed it. I mean, the abrupt ending was weird, but other than that, I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah. Like I said, I did not like it. It was just, it was one of those movies like, man, you had potential here.
Right.
You didn't squander a lot of it. Like I wouldn't
Right.
say like Captain Marvel, I feel like you squandered a lot of that. This one, you didn't. It's just like you probably should have just took your time with this one, not shove so much in here and just tell a story, let people get invested, and then your sequel, like if you didn't make so much money on this one, your sequel would have got blown up because people would have then like, okay, you would have got word of mouth and like, yeah, let's go see this one now.
Right.
Which, you know, happens with a lot of movies that you said you won't get bored. Maybe unless you're that one guy, you'll probably stay away from this movie.
Yeah, there was a guy who fell asleep up front in front of us,
crazy
very loudly.
loud.
And I got to be honest with you, I'm impressed with that because he must have been just bored out of his mind,
or just really
very tired. Wow, yeah. So
yeah, but yeah, that's all we got to say about Captain Marvel. Sorry, Captain Marvel. Wow, we've been finished with Captain Marvel. We're back to Alita.
Alita Battle Angel.
That's all we got to say about Alita Battle Angel. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. We always appreciate that and everything. Thank you, William.
Thank you, good sir.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. We'll be back. Like I said, we try to do these at least once a month. And blow it up. And yeah, but we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I know William's got to go. He's got to do some adult stuff and everything like that. So he's got to go knock that out. And I've got to go do some homework. I got to watch some Punisher movies. So
so sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all about finishing out this March Marvel Madness month. And then we'll be back to our regular schedule and doing more fun stuff. And next time you'll see us in a new setting will probably be after Endgame. I almost said Infinity War 2. But yeah. So probably after Endgame. So that'll be fun.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in to Movie Monday on Big Glam Entertainment, where we try to bring a little bit of enjoyment to your day every day. And like I said, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Just go to the website, BigGlamEntertainment.com. Follow us on the social media. And like I said, get involved because we're always doing stuff on there and everything. You know, come out and see one of our comedy shows. Those are always fun.
If you're in the Eastern North Carolina area and you got nothing better to do. It's like, hey, it's a cheap show, and they have Happy Juice, if you know what I mean. If you like adult beverages, you know what that is.
Yeah, and then we'll be even more funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you guys for supporting us as always, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Bye.